Sweat cannot make it tonight. We've got a very packed agenda, so we're going to try to get through as efficiently as we can. And we're hoping to hear later in the agenda about various topics, including speeding. And we would like to hear from everyone who wants to speak about that. We'll probably ask you to try to speak for about 3 minutes and then let the next person come in. And if it seems like we didn't have enough time to air out the subject, we'll definitely have another follow-up agenda item after the election, because we do want to, listen to what the public has to say on that. Yes?
Should we move that item up so that people don't have to wait for the whole meeting?
My goodness.
Well, right now it comes after Act 250 Tier 1B.
I think it'll be okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. All right, well, welcome everybody. Our first item is approval of the agenda. How does the agenda look to everyone tonight?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. Let's vote on that. Marcia, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Kimo?
Yes.
Priscilla?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Our second item is the chair's report. I wanted to thank everybody for the opportunity to serve as the chair this year. I really enjoyed it. And it can be challenging, but it was also fun in many ways. What I did in between mostly was to meet with the town manager and the administrative assistant to put together the agenda. I'm working on a Public Records Act request from Pam Smith, and that was about it for the week. So that's the chair's report. Third agenda item is public comments for items not on the agenda. Look for hands on Zoom. Okay. Oh, yes, Kimo?
I'd just like to thank Sandy Anderson for our cookies.
So cute. Yeah. And they're well appreciated. Okay. Kimo and Sandy's cookies. All right. On to number 3. This is the Act 250 Tier 1B presentation. Brennan's online, but Stephen, this is Stephen True. Do you want to come up?
Sure.
To the seat too?
The chairs of the Planning Commission and the Affordable Housing Subcommittee were gracious enough to let me go first because I have another meeting to go to.
Okay.
So I just have a brief statement that I want to read, and then I'm going to skedaddle. The main tenet of this new location-based jurisdictional model or tier system is the exemption from Act 250 review. These exemptions apply to housing developments alone and only in certain circumstances. Importantly, these exemptions do not absolve a developer from local review. So today I'd like to speak in defense of local zoning. Title 24, Chapter 117 affords municipalities broad authority to plan land development, and in this way protect residential, agricultural, and other areas from undue overcrowding of land and buildings, to protect from loss of peace, quiet, and privacy, to protect and preserve important natural and historic features of the landscape, and to facilitate the growth of community so as to create an optimum environment with good civic design, and one which encourages rich cultural development. Moreover, Title 24 provides regulatory means and methods to prevent, minimize, or eliminate land development problems through tools such as conditional use regulation, site plan review, zoning districts, and zoning bylaws and enforcement, and provides standards that minimize or mitigate impacts to important criteria such as municipal services, water supply, soils, transportation capacity, and to the character of the area affected. In short, zoning is a local government function and always has been. And I am confident through our local implementation of these tools and standards, our Development Review Board will find appropriate conditions and safeguards to prevent undue and adverse outcomes that may arise under this exemption.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quick questions for Stephen. Select Board? Russia?
Quick question.
Sure.
So we've got at least 30, maybe 32 permanent Act 250 permits in town. And I'll talk more about it later, but
Yeah.
I had a conversation with the chair of the Land Use Review Board.
Mhm.
And what I'm worried about is that those Act 250 permits won't necessarily come up in the development review process. And in fact, she confirmed that it would kind of be up to the individuals to make that known. So I'm going to be asking questions about why those aren't identified and exempted already in the maps.
That's a good point, and I think it's a sort of topical issue. I don't know if there's a resolution yet that's been sort of promulgated from the state in terms of what do you do with pre-existing Act 250 exemptions. I'm sure Kyle can speak more to that, but yeah, good point.
Right? And you must have to scoot.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I have a few minutes if there are other questions. Otherwise, I'm happy to turn it over to Kyle Katz.
It sounds great.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Kyle Katz, you want to?
That's my indication.
Yeah, there's your entree.
Okay.
Have a cookie if you want.
Oh, thank you. Great. Thank you. So Stephen mentioned, I'm Kyle Katz, Regional Planner with the Two Rivers Occoquechee Regional Commission. And after Stephen's introduction, I'm here to discuss a little more in depth what Tier 1B is. It was enacted into law in 2024 through Act 181. And one of the sole kind of drivers of it was to promote housing, largely through Act 250 reform and through changes to land use planning. And one of the ways it did that is the creation of interim exemptions, which are in place right now for Norwich. And that is exemptions from Act 250 for up to 50 housing units. Those exemptions expire at the end of the year. That's where Tier 1B comes in. Because when they expire, Act 250 reverts, and any new housing development above 10 units would go through Act 250. And so this is an opportunity. It's a choice. It's an opt-in, but it's an opportunity to continue those exemptions. They are a little different in that right now, the interim exemption is kind of this mapped bubble area around the center of Norwich. And through Tier 1B, the exemption would be the village center, the regional future land use mapped village center, and village area. It can be one, it can be the other, it can be both. The town has the latitude to decide that. And that would essentially allow for that Act 250 exemption to continue up to 50 housing units on parcels of land less than 10 acres. It doesn't mean that, so 50 units sounds like a lot. It can be 11 units, it can be 12. They can be McMansions, it doesn't have to be affordable housing. So there's not really a criteria for what kind of housing would fall into that exemption. It's pretty much any and all housing that would otherwise go to Act 250 between 10 units and 50 units. There's a little bit of urgency to this in that the opt-in is tied to the regional plan adoption process, because when the regional plan is adopted, well, prior to adoption, it is reviewed by the Land Use Review Board. And they look at the plan, they review it to make sure it meets all the statutory criteria. They review the future land use areas, and they essentially approve the plan. When that happens, towns that have opted in during this process then receive that tier 1B eligibility. And so that has to happen adoption has to happen by the end of the year. But as you can imagine, it's a very long process. There are multiple hearings. The Land Use Review Board has 60 days to review the plan and provide comments, which we see happening likely in June or July of this year. But we're going to all the towns that can qualify for tier 1B now, and are looking for essentially, are you opting in or not right now? And we're looking to have confirmation from towns in March.
Okay, so just as far as possible action that the select board might take tonight, you're saying it would be helpful to the process of moving through this tier 1B. For instance, if we just, how would we couch that, approving the adoption?
So what I can do, we have a resolution form the select board can sign, and that simplifies it. It's essentially a checklist that says, because in order to qualify for tier 1B, for example, you have zoning subdivision, you need water or wastewater or suitable soils. You need the capacity to administer your regulations. And so essentially it's a bunch of check boxes. And you just say, yep, we got that, we got that, we got that. And then you sign, and then we just have that resolution form that we can then submit when the plan goes to Land Use Review Board.
Okay, do you need us to sign that form?
Yes.
Okay, because I don't believe we've seen that.
No, my
It's just an
my
introduction.
goal here tonight was just an introduction.
An introduction, okay.
And then I'd
It's
say,
good to know what the follow-up might be.
yes.
Do you have a question?
Are we
Priscilla?
required to have all those things? Because of course, Norwich does not have public sewer. So you wouldn't know if you have wastewater capacity until you perk the land. And only in the fire district is there public water. So does that mean that it's limited to the fire district?
No, not necessarily. It's limited to the mapped village areas and village center. And
So you don't have
that-
to check off public water, public septic.
you check that you have it. It's not necessary that the water ideally can reach most of those areas, but potentially it could be covered by the fact that maybe the soils are okay for a
But if
shared
we
system.
don't have any public septic, does that automatically disqualify us?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a thing on the checklist that we're not going to be able to check off, and that's okay.
Well, not tonight, I guess.
Well, so the requirement on the checklist is water or wastewater capacity or suitable soils.
Okay, those three.
Says for an alternative to sewer service.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Kima.
Are there any potential downsides to this that you can identify?
No. The only downside is if the town doesn't opt in, then Act 250 reverts, and it adds an extra layer of regulation to new housing. I mean, there's already the requirement that it get, the state wastewater permitting, other state level permitting for larger developments if it's larger, and your local zoning and subdivision regulations also kick in. So Act 250 is just on top of all of that.
Right.
And so I can't think of any reason why not, considering the interim exemptions are already in place. Like someone could go right now and not trigger Act 250 and do a development up to 50 units. I don't think it's happened yet because it's very expensive to do housing in Vermont. And so it's great to have an exemption, but that's not the only barrier. Or Act 250 is not.
The question?
Well, as I said, I talked to the chair of the land use board, and I also talked to the district coordinator for Act 250. And I sort of got a different impression than what you're presenting. The Vermont Digger article in early February said that there are some communities who haven't opted in, like in Chittenden County. And I think that's one thing that we should take note of. I'm also a little concerned, and I've got some questions at the end. I'll go as quickly as I can, but the map that the Regional Commission has put together is actually showing a much larger village center than we have in our town plan. And it has a huge pink collar around that town village center that they have identified as the village area. And that's where I know that there's 30 or so Act 250 permits that are in place. So one question that I'm going to ask you later, but I want to get through this, is the chairman of the land use board said that that's something that the municipality chooses, not the regional planning commission. So I said, well, the select board, I'm on the select board and we haven't chosen anything. And I'm a little concerned because a town plan is something that's vetted by people and the people of the town, and then it goes to the select board, it gets voted. This seems like an end run around that. And I'm told by the land use review board chair that we don't have to necessarily do that. It's up to the municipality. So I think we should be thinking about it. The other things I learned, the legislature is still discussing the tier structure. And so the tier 1 housing exemptions could still change. And that prompted me to ask why towns would be asked to vote on it now. And I was told, it seems that, as you said, the regional plan has to be adopted by the end of the year. And that means that it's concerning the village centers and what's now called a community investment program. It used to be called, the development review things, which involves incentives for redevelopment. The village center and village area boundaries are informed by the municipality. So, again, I think we need to think about why is our town plan so different, and who said we would accept a bigger village area and invent this pink collar around it called a village area. Once the regional plan is finalized, as you said, it's going to have that 60-day review period. They said objections should be made early because there's going to be public hearings. And, I think we as a public should be aware of that. The existing Act 250 permits, I'm told by the regional office, the district office, is, of course, they're going to remain in place. However, enforcement of them is effectively going to fall to individuals. And as I just asked Stephen, there isn't anything in place. So what I'm worried about is the land use review board is going to end up reviewing cases, but it would be up to individuals to say, oh, this developer is going to develop under tier 1B, and this actually is subject to an Act 250 permit, and you can't do that. So I'm just wondering, in addition to who approved that larger village center on behalf of Nowich and the village area, why would Nowich opt in now when the legislature could change the law later? It seems to me we have some time. I don't know what the hurry should be. And why not exclude areas which have an existing Act 250 permit from the Tier 1B exemption? Because as we know, there's no mechanism other than individuals to put their hand up and try and stop something happening that shouldn't be happening. Otherwise, that puts the onus, I think, unfairly on those individuals and puts our town at risk, because essentially this is a wet area, as you know. I wanted to say, thank you, because you spent a lot of time here, and we appreciate that because we didn't have a planner, and so it was great of you to do it. But we've got a very wet area. We have Act 250 permits on things for reasons, because we don't want to be flooded. We don't want to have problems like we had on, what was the name of the road? Hemlock Ridge Road. Nowich can't afford that kind of thing. So I think I would like to see us just wait to see what the legislature is going to do, put some guardrails in place, and then revisit this. It's not that I feel we shouldn't be trying to develop housing. It's that I don't see that we as a town have said we want that much housing in these areas, and we've decided suddenly, without the benefit of people in town having a say about it, to massively increase the area that's subject.
Okay. I'm also noticing others want to
Yeah.
speak to this. Jan, would you like to speak first?
Yes, I would, because I want to make it perfectly clear. The planning commission recommended to the select board at our last meeting that the select board should go forward with asking for this exemption. So that was a vote of the planning commission, and we had an extensive process of multiple meetings, warned meetings, participation from the public relative to the mapping exercise. We had feedback from the public that was incorporated into the maps. So it is simply not valid to say that those maps were done by the regional commission without participation of the appropriate Norwich body, which is the planning commission. So I want to put that one to rest and say that the planning commission, after that careful review, recommends the select board to go ahead with this. I do know that the state is trying to look at what changes might be made to this, and it is in flux, and Kyle can speak to that better than I can. I would be curious about having a mechanism to make sure that if a property has an Act 250 permit on it, how do we make sure that that is counted appropriately? Any of the, Norwich is wet or the site isn't appropriate, will be taken up in the state wastewater permits, the town zoning permitting process, the stormwater permitting, which is state. So there are plenty of reviews that will catch inappropriate sites, whether it's for water or septic. So those would be my comments for now. Thank you.
I have a follow-up question. Jan, would the planning commission need an answer tonight? And also this uncertainty about what will happen to this tier 1B regulation, it just seems it might be a little premature to approve tonight. And if that's so, how long would we have to wait before we were confident that whatever the concept is settled? Because otherwise we're sort of, it may be tweaking, it may not make that much of a difference, but it's, just throwing a little uncertainty into the decision-making process.
Yeah, I would say for the scheduling questions and the urgency questions, the planning commission would revert to Two Rivers, in the sense that we were talking to them before, and we did our work to support their schedule. But the schedule is driven by what Kyle described, sort of backing up from regional plan adoption. So the planning commission itself does not have schedule urgency. We are trying to support the whole process that enables us to get this exemption that we think is beneficial.
So just to clarify, the support that you would like to have from the select board tonight is for the process to go forward, or to actually enable?
We had sufficient discussion that we recommended opting into the Tier 1B exemption for village center and village area. Village center,
even though it may change.
In the current environment, knowing what we know now, that we opt in for that. The rules may change, but so opting into that is what the planning commission recommended. In terms of the checklist and not seeing the checklist and so forth, those are easy. Those are like, do you have municipal zoning? Do you have a zoning director? Are you, those are easy. The policy statement, the decision in front of the select board is whether to opt in to the Tier 1B designation. The checklist is trivial compared to that.
Okay, and other follow-ups for Jan? Go ahead, Marcia. I got to get to Jeff.
Sure. I just remember asking about that difference in size of the village center And at that time, I wasn't aware of the creation of a village area. And I still think that even though it may have gone through hearings, so-called at the planning commission level, it's still different from what's required for a town plan. And I think it's significant to the people of the town who really don't understand what's going to happen.
Okay, thank you. Jeff Flubel, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I I wonder whether I have some questions, but I wonder whether on a factual issue it might just be useful to hear from Kyle about the timing question that you asked, Mary, because my understanding is that under the current rules, we have like a window now that we won't have again for 8 years to opt in. And while it's is that, Kyle, still the policy, or can you just explain the timing issue?
So the timing is really around regional plan adoption. So when the plan is going through the adoption process is when a town would opt in. In recent years, the regional plan has been readopted once every 3 or 4 years or so. So it wouldn't necessarily be 8 years, but it's not as though if you don't opt in now, you could just opt in next year. That's not the case. You'd have to wait until that, the next round of regional plan adoption would take place. That being said, maybe there will be changes in statute, maybe not, that could streamline that, because it seems like if a town is just wanting to opt into Tier 1B, it seems like a big hurdle to then go through the entire process of readopting the regional plan. But as it stands right now, that's where things are at.
So is that decision window, if I heard this correctly, is that now until January 1st, but you prefer it early? I just don't quite understand.
We're looking to know by March, because we then take the draft plan to the Two Rivers Board in April. And then after that, we send it off to the Land Use Review Board, and they'll need to know. And that would be in May or June.
So if it's a draft plan, it has to be reviewed and then come back to us, or come back to the Planning Commission?
The draft regional plan goes to Land Use Review Board, and then they review it, and they can say, hey, that big village area, the edges of it aren't walkable. You got to make it smaller. But we've had a ton of correspondence. We've worked a lot with the Planning Commission and had lots of back and forth and feedback. And a lot of that input is how we came up with those village areas and the expanded village center. But that's not to say that when it does go to the review board, it won't change based on their looking at the need to maintain compact village centers surrounded by rural countryside. And I'll just note that the larger village center, so towns previously applied to be in the village center designation program. That's going away. It's getting replaced by these new village center, the new village centers in the regional plan. And so the benefits of that village center designation now go into a larger area, whereas they were confined to a much smaller area before. But that larger area cannot be huge. It will go to the Land Use Review Board and they'll say, this is half the town, or it's a mile long. You can't do that. And so we have these other future land use areas, like village areas that are more residential. They often encircle the village center. They're walkable to the core. And so the Regional Planning Commission is required by statute to follow the purpose of each of these areas and map them accordingly.
Okay.
Can I continue my comments, Mary? Is that okay?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, please. Thank you. Kyle, was super helpful. So if I could just say a few things. First of all, it's true that the legislature may change the rules. That's true
An
always. What we know now is that under the current rules, we have an opportunity
opportunity.
that won't come around for another 4 years. And I think I would encourage us to make a decision by March, one way or the other, so that we don't miss that window. Number one. Number two, if I could, the Act 181 is new. It came out after our town plan. They created a new set of land use areas that did not exist when we wrote our town plan. So this idea of a village area and why it's there because the Vermont state legislature passed a law that said you have to define a series of land use areas, and it included an area surrounding village centers called the village area. Another thing that's really important to know is that both village areas and village centers are entitled to benefits. So even apart from Act Tier 1B exemption, the village area, if you're located in a village area or the village center, you get preferential access to funding for affordable housing, for example, and for planning grant assistance, and for, a whole bunch of other benefits. So a big part, and the reason why it's really helpful to have the village area be the way it is and the village center be the way it is that it's really giving benefits to the town, right? In terms of, if we wanted to, for example, apply for affordable housing funding, we would now be able to do it within this area. Keep in mind, though, the area is still very small relative to all of Norwich. Most of Norwich is being put into various rural categories, and so that's another thing. Another thing that I think is really helpful to understand is that under current zoning, we have very few parcels, if any, within the village area or the village center where you could actually build more than 10 units on fewer than 10 acres. So that means that as a practical matter, there's very little immediate impact of the Tier 1B exemption, because there are almost no parcels that it would apply to, because you could already build fewer than 10 units without going through Act 250. So it only applies to 10 to 50 units, and it has to be on fewer than 10 acres, right? So you're limiting yourself a lot. So what this means is that the immediate practical impact is minimal, except for giving Vermont access to various benefits because they're village areas and village centers. The real impact is preserving flexibility, so that in the future, if Vermont decided to change its zoning code to accommodate more housing, to increase housing options and make it easier to build housing, we would not have to the developer would not have to then go through the duplicative state review process that could add a lot of time and money to the process. And just for an example, in Woodstock, a neighbor held up the affordable housing development by over 7 years by going through legislation using the Act 250 as the kind of the hook for holding up that development. So Act 250 is really important for deciding, like, in the middle of a rural area, do you want to put a gas station, right? I mean, like, there should be somebody looking over that. But we're talking about the village center and the immediate area. We know we want housing there. We know that's a good place for housing. And we can use our zoning rules to decide how much housing. So we have complete control through our zoning. We also have an affordable housing density bonus, so that right now you get to build more units if you do affordable housing. So we could actually structure it so that the only people who get to take advantage of this, if we wanted to, that would have the zoning permission to do more than 10 units on 10 or on fewer than 10 acres are those that have affordable housing, right? Just by the math, we could. So anyway, we preserve control. We preserve flexibility. So the Affordable Housing Subcommittee and the Planning Commission both recommended approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Marsha?
I just want to stress that I was told that the timing for this is the Regional Planning Commission has to have this by the end of the year. So I think this is pushing us more than we need to be pushed. I think we could get some more information, and I think Act 250 doesn't just protect gas stations. It protects my house and a lot of other houses who don't have the land capacity for certain numbers of bedrooms. And Norwich people can be badly surprised if these things are not held to a book. And basically, I think what we need to do is come up with a process for recognizing the existing Act 250 parcels, and then go forward with this when we've given some time to see how it's going to shake out. And I think it's important to consider that bigger towns and other towns have not done this yet. They're waiting, and there's probably good reasons for that. So I think rather than rush into something that the people of Norwich don't understand, we could get some more information and still not harm the process that the regional plan needs to go through.
Okay, I'm noticing then, Carol, should we do you first?
I just don't see how this could possibly be harmful to our town, only beneficial as far as I can tell.
Okay, and Nan, Carol, would you like to speak? Are you there, Nan?
Yes, I'm here. I have a different subject,
Okay.
so I'll wait till you're done with this. I
Okay.
just have a public comment on another subject. Thanks.
On another subject, okay.
Does Folger toggle the hand up or not? I can't tell. Looks like.
There's a little hand there.
I
Fold.
think that's just the mouse.
Oh, that's the mouse.
Mouse.
Yeah. That would be the jam, little Mickey Mouse.
Oh.
Yeah, right? I think. Okay.
Hey, could I just
yes,
make a
go ahead.
distinction? So we're talking about tier 1B. There is a tier 1A. And I do wonder if we're maybe kind of blending the two a little. In tier 1A, it's much more rigorous. Again, our discussion. But if towns take that on, they're taking on all of the existing Act 250 permits. In tier 1B, that is not the case. Those permits remain in place. They remain enforced at the state level. And all that's happening is this exemption for those residential developments of 10 to 50 units.
Okay,
If there's an existing Act 250 permit in place, it still has those conditions attached to it.
right.
But it's not something that the town has to consider
Right.
or
We're not-
enforce. It's
We're not
not.
considering that tonight, I think.
So I guess my question,
So I would like to actually, is it Linda Gray? Do you have a question on this?
I have a comment if now is okay. I
comment?
can wait.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep, no, good. Is it on this subject though, right?
yes, yes, it is.
Okay,
Okay,
so
thank
I'd
you
like
very
to
much.
wrap this up.
Okay, and I just want to encourage the select board to take the option to be, to opt into tier 1B. And I want to add my comments to refute that this is rushed, because I'm very much a layperson on this issue, but I've been observing and watching the presentations from Two Rivers to the planning commissions, like starting last fall. I forget exactly, but at least September. And so there've been a lot of discussions. They've been quite open and they've received comments, and same for the planning commission. And I feel that overall, that what opting into tier 1B does is gives Norwich flexibility, future flexibility, and would enable us to be in a position where if developers come to do some additional housing in town, they would be able to benefit from this and would be more likely to want to do it. And I have the key thing is my understanding is to be able to opt into tier 1B, the town has to have zoning regulations, they have to have staff, they have to be able to apply a lot of their own local land use requirements, and Norwich is in a position to do that, and I have confidence that we can exercise all those. So I think that for that combination of reasons, I really urge the select board to take the option to be part of tier 1B tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, let's do last comments, and then I think we've got to decide.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm not
Kimo.
sure who to ask this, but when we adopted new land use regulations last September, did they anticipate our moving forward with this? Or
I imagine so. I mean, I'm not as kind of well aware of like all the changes that were made in there, but I know a lot of them were just bringing the land use regulations into compliance with changes in statute that
Yeah,
had been in place for some time.
I can speak to that quickly. I mean, I think the short answer, Chemo, is no. Just because the changes that were made, as Kyle said, were updates and clarifications and in accord with state law on agricultural businesses and so forth. So we didn't change things that overlapped with this. So it was really somewhat separate from that. But that said, our local zoning as it stands is perfectly capable of dealing with the review of any projects that would come up, the DRB, and then state permits that are left in place. We have the staff and the permits to take care of anything that comes up.
Follow up, or are you good? Good. Okay. I think we should.
What did Nan want to talk about?
Nan has a comment on a different subject. I already called on her, not this subject. Unless she's suddenly changed her mind. So I think we're good. I don't see any hands in the audience. Are we ready for a motion on this?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to try to craft it?
Oh,
Or
boy.
yeah. I mean,
I move to support the application. Is it to the state?
It's more a resolution.
Okay.
And the town can choose the village center and the village area. They can choose one or the other, or both, and to opt in for it.
The recommendation of the planning commission is for the town to opt in to Tier 1B status for both the village center and the village area.
Yeah, and the Affordable Housing Subcommittee had the same recommendation.
I move that the select board approve opting into Tier 1B
status probably.
status.
So it's for the village center, and what's the other area?
Village area.
Village area and village center.
And village center.
All right. Okay.
Okay, I'm happy to second that.
All right. You see how tough it is to get a really good motion on the
Yeah.
fly.
Yes.
Make a comment.
Yes, you may.
You don't even know what, I mean, you guys haven't even looked at the map.
I looked at the map.
You did?
Yeah.
And you're,
He's looking at it right here.
well,
Well, before we vote, we could have a brief further discussion. But I believe the planning commission has vetted this pretty thoroughly. I don't see a downside to it. It's hard when you feel a little rushed into a big decision, but I'm okay with it. And you've looked at the
And
map,
I've
you've
talked
been
to the
researching.
director of planning about it.
Yes.
So I've looked at it.
I'm ready to vote.
Okay. No. All right, Marcia votes no, that's fine. And Kimo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, and Priscilla?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, thank you very much for all that hard work and discussion.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
All right,
Thank you.
and you're welcome. You can circle back if you need us to sign the resolution. We'll figure that part out. Okay, thank you very much. Our next item is a discussion of concerns around speeding, and I understand that our police chief has a brief. Okay, now Nan, is this on the topic we just finished or the speeding? Is this a public comment for something not on the agenda that we missed? I'm sorry.
Am I able to make a public comment from the agenda?
Yeah. Yeah, is it
That's what
for
I'd like to
something
do.
that's not? Okay, I just want to be clear. Go ahead.
You can tell me if what I want to talk about is not able. I thought that you could make a public comment at the
You
beginning
can,
of the meeting.
it's usually a little bit earlier, so we just missed it. That's why we sort of passed over you and you had to wait, but go ahead and make your comment, please.
I apologize. It took me a minute to zoom in.
Nope,
That's
okay.
I wanted to talk about the accepting correspondence because at
Okay.
the last meeting, you had some correspondence, and historically, my understanding is that you all used to just accept correspondence, and your procedures talks about that the correspondence falls into 3 buckets. And I wasn't aware that you typically discuss correspondence. I thought you just voted to accept it. And so it feels potentially like, was there a violation of the open meeting law when the town manager and one of the members had an in-depth discussion about correspondence, and that wasn't part of the warned agenda, I don't think. At any rate, the 2 people were really ready to pounce, so it was clear that they were going to discuss that. And I feel like there's some inappropriate and unprofessionalism that goes on, and I wrote about this 2 years ago when the town manager led the meeting, your organizational meeting that you have right after an election. And at the time, so the town manager ran that meeting. And at the time, he put his finger on the scale and basically endorsed one candidate over another who was running for chair. And you can go back and look at the meeting, and he said, "Oh, Marcia would be so great," and all this. And she was running against somebody. It turned out she didn't win, and then didn't want to serve as vice chair. But he was not impartial or professional in running that meeting. And you don't have to have the town manager run your organizational meeting. So I would ask the select board, and there'll be some new members after next week, that you consider having somebody more impartial run your organizational meeting. You could potentially ask the town moderator or somebody. There's no statute that says that the town manager has to run that meeting. And I think because of some past behaviors, I don't think it's the right thing for him to be doing. And we love free and fair elections.
Yep. So really 2 concerns. One is that the discussion during acceptance of correspondence spilled over into being more like an agenda item. And then the second one is that perhaps there should be a different person to run, maybe a partial person to run the organizational meeting. Those 2, did I catch your points?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay. And
I
I'm
appreciate
noticing our town manager would like to weigh in.
Well,
Brennan,
I'll address the first topic. The second topic, I'll leave alone. I felt that what appeared in the listserv last week related to the discussion about a piece of correspondence was very misleading. And I believe, as the town manager, I was accused of violating the open meeting law of Vermont. And I just want to be very clear that we have a procedure for accepting correspondence, and we have a procedure for how correspondence is entered into the meeting packet. And that is also illustrated in the correspondence for this week's meeting. I would say that there was no violation of the open meeting law, as I've been accused of. We have agenda items. In the agenda, under correspondence, it says there could be discussion or even a motion. So with that said, there is no violation of an open meeting law that occurred. We also have a policy of the town for how we accept correspondence. And we have a history going back of routinely discussing items and correspondence at the at the select board meetings. So with that as the facts behind this, I again feel a bit attacked when I'm being accused of violating a state law on the Nowich listserv, and it is harmful. Thank you.
I would like to follow up on that a little bit, that, we're in Dillon State. We have to operate according to the statutes, and we also make agreements with each other about how we're going to run our meetings. And sometimes I think we sort of spill over a little bit, that we could pull back on some things or adjust sometimes. I think there is sometimes a little bit of flexibility. So just for all of us to keep that in mind. And especially when the topic is very emotional, it's hard. So, but I'm taking, all the comments very seriously. Priscilla?
I'd just like to comment and say, I had no idea this was going to be in the packet until the packet came out. And
Which was that?
the correspondence we're referring to.
Oh,
I had no idea it was going to be in the packet until the packet was out. And I had no idea there'd been, back and forth requesting it to be taken out until that came out in the meeting. And I don't know.
Okay, well, that's.
Although you brought it up in your chair's report, but that was the first I heard.
Okay. All right. Well, we have to work on that one. Let's set that aside because we've got people waiting too to get on to the next item. But we haven't forgotten this. Thank you for your feedback. Marcia?
I have more comments that I'll make when we get to correspondence.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Do we have our police chief here, Matthew Romei? Yep. And are you ready with a short presentation? Because we have many people eager to give their input.
I am. I'm struggling. I don't actually see myself at the moment, which is weird. Normally I
can see you though.
Oh, perfect. Well, that's all that matters. Good evening, Matthew Romei for the record. Usually I can see myself in a little pop-up, but who knows? And I appreciate Stephen's remarks earlier about being in 7 different places at one time. So I'll try to roar through this pretty quickly. So I'll submit this for the next packet. I was working on it as late as today, but I know this has been a pretty big topic of conversation, and I wanted to share a couple things with you. One of the biggest things that I wanted to share is from not really a frustration standpoint, but somewhat of an exasperation standpoint. Today was the first time that I've gotten an email directly from a citizen wanting to talk about any of this. So I appreciate that, and I'll make sure that I get back with him and have some of those discussions. This is a quick little map because to show where our radar.
Excuse me, Matt, for a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Does anyone want to move so they can see a little better the map, or are you okay? Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so this is a map, a little screenshot of Google, thank you, Google, of where our radar speed feedback signs are. The yellow stars are the permanent installations. They were developed well prior to me in some engineering study way back when, and they were replaced shortly after I arrived with solar and battery powered signs. Those are the 4 yellow stars that you see. The red star, which is on Turnpike Road, right there at Huntley Athletic Fields, is the last one of the legacy signs that are hardwired to Green Mountain Power. And depending on how budgets and tariffs and purchasing works this year, that one will get replaced as well. That's the only permanent sign that we don't get data from. We pay a fairly exorbitant amount of money every year to get data from those radar speed feedback signs, but we only get them in the direction that the traffic is approaching the sign. Now you see a little blue star over our PD, and that is there to mark our data collector. Our data collector is a device that we can put out anywhere for, it usually runs about 2 weeks at a shot, and we can collect data going in both directions. And we get a lot of data that you'll see here in just a second. And we put that out. That's I know someone was talking about Beaver Meadow Road earlier. We published some data from over there. I know today in the listserv there was a link published, and that link is out there, and we would love people, if they're interested, to see what's going on. You get a little bit of data. That's the public facing side of the database, and you can see some of that data there in public. There were some burning questions posted today, and I'll just address them really quick because they didn't necessarily fit in with the rest of what we were talking about. We were asked how often are the readers out of service. They are occasionally, mostly for brief periods of time, couple of 3 minutes here and there. They've taken a beating this year because of the cold weather. I think we've seen a number of examples where batteries don't do great when it's really cold, and this is another one of them. There's a question about bike and pedestrian activity. Pedestrians don't affect them at all. And I would say bicycles are probably limited because when we go and look at data, we pull out the lowest things that would typically be generated by your bicycles. Patterns. You know any statisticians? Because I would love to have the bandwidth and time to really do deeper dives into the data, but we just don't have that bandwidth to do the lift. And sure, we see the typical peaks, travel periods, and quieter windows. Volume, you can pretty much tell what to expect for that. But when the volume goes up, the speed actually goes down. And that may be a little counterintuitive. In preparation for this, we placed a data collector basically in the same place as one of our radar speed feedback signs because we wanted to catch traffic going in both directions. So we put it right out there at Partridge Hill, the end of Union Village Road, for a 20-day stretch, January 15th to February 15th. That was limited by battery power. It only lasts for so long before we have to pull it in and recharge it. And in that period of time, we captured almost 65,000 vehicle speeds. That's a lot of cars, but keep in mind that it's going in both directions. So that is this is going to this pulls some information from that report, and I want to talk about 85th percentile. I am not an engineer. My dad was, but I'm not. So I'm going to teeter a little bit over into engineering space. The 85th percentile is one of a number of factors that you use for determining speed limits. And I'm going to show you this briefly, but I don't want you to look at some of it yet. Okay? Tempting, isn't it? So these are peak travel periods for vehicles. And, you know, your 5-day average and your 7-day average. Of course, we show a little bit less on Saturday and Sunday. I will note anecdotally that there's a lot of pass-through traffic at that location that is not Norwich start and finish traffic. It's traffic coming from Thetford, coming from the north, coming to the south to hit the interstate and vice versa. But your AM, your PM peaks are exactly what you think they are, between 7 and 8, between 3 and 4. That's not really surprising. This is how many vehicles are over the threshold, and now is where you go, oh, good Lord, on Sunday, almost half of our cars are going over the speed limit.
Who's cruising the church, right?
Well, you know, sure. We'll go with that. We'll go with that. But this is why I didn't want to show this all at once. I wanted to walk you through this. There's your average violator. Okay, now you're going to say, yes, the speed limit's 25. I got it. The speed limit's 25. Sure. Your average violator is going no more than about 40. Okay. But here we go back to 85th percentile. Okay. Now don't read ahead. I know you're reading ahead. Don't read ahead. 85th percentile speed is 39 miles an hour right there. That means that 85% of your vehicles are going 39 miles an hour or below. And I know because you read ahead, you weren't looking at 85th or 50, you were looking at that number.
Whoa.
Okay, there we go. But let's go back here for just a minute. Your 85th percentile speed, this is straight from federal highway safety. If you removed all speed controls, you said you did the old days in Montana during the daytime, drive as fast as you want, but you're responsible for how fast you're going and your safety. Your 85th percentile speed is where 85 is where people are going to feel safe. You're going to self-limit yourself to where you feel comfortable based on speed, road, and traffic conditions. So,
Matt,
yes,
may I interrupt for a minute?
sure,
That's the driver, just saying that's the driver feeling safe.
absolutely,
Not
100%,
pedestrians, but I understand the 85th.
100%. I'm just helping you understand terms, okay? Because remember also what happens at Turnpike. Union Village Road becomes Main Street, and roads and streets are different when you look at highway design. Okay, there's your 85th percentile speed. There's some cool graphs because graphs makes us look smart. The Federal Highway Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. If anyone is having trouble sleeping tonight, this is a free download. It's about 1,200 pages. I promise you won't make it past the index before you're asleep. So speed studies, road design, traffic volumes, all that stuff, the recommendation is that the speed should be within about 5 miles an hour plus or minus of the 85th percentile speed, but only on freeway, expressway, rural highway. Union Village Road is a rural highway by definition. Lower volumes, higher speeds, fewer turning conflicts. Roads connect.
Matt,
urban centers. Yes, ma'am.
sorry.
Yep.
Okay, so Union Village Road is the rural highway.
Yep.
Is that rural highway and at the intersection with Turnpike?
It becomes Main Street.
Street.
Right.
Main
So
Street's
that,
different.
okay, so is that 85th percentile rule would apply up until that intersection? Is that correct?
Well, here's the thing, and this is where this is why I
More
say
complication. Okay.
it's only so the 85th percentile speed is a really good rule of thumb, regardless. Okay, because these are the things you have to consider when you're setting a speed limit. Okay, but 85th percentile is a really good rule of thumb, but you have to consider all those things up there in paragraph 7, those A through F things. Okay. And you see how many times engineering study and studies appears. And all I'm trying to tell you at this point is you've got to be careful about setting speed limits willy-nilly, if you will. And based on how we feel, we need to do it based off of studies and based off of information. So this is where I go back and show you the 67 miles an hour. Yes, we had 67 miles an hour recorded. Out of 65,518 vehicles, we had greater than 60 recorded 13 times.
This is interesting, but
so hold on.
But don't forget,
I'm sorry.
40 miles per hour is 60% above the speed limit. 60%. Like, you want to give me a 60% discount on an Aggie?
Excuse me, who's here in Tracy Hall? We're just seeing Matt's presentation, so I can't see who is speaking other than Matt, and I can't even see Matt.
Oh,
is this
sorry.
Brian Riordan?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes, that was. I thought you
Okay.
guys were chiming in, so I thought it was open that we to talk.
Yeah, no, it's probably my bad for
Okay,
interrupting.
so I just thought we were open dialoguing. Because I was just calling out 60%, 40 miles per hour is 60% above the posted speed limit. Nobody's making up speed limits. The speed limit exists. If you want to get 60% off an Aggie at Danowitz, that's a pretty good savings. I'll take it all day long. I don't see many people going significantly under 25, right? But it's a speed limit. So I'm just I feel like you're kind of trivializing it a little bit. And it's about the people walking on the road.
Brian, let's have you speak again. Let's see if we can get through Matt's presentation. And go ahead, Matt.
Okay, so, thanks. So I just give you the numbers, okay? Because we have to do this from from the data, not from necessarily where we feel about it. What my point of saying all of this is that 25 in that location is an artificially low speed limit, and that is a tough. It is a tough thing to talk about, honestly, because I know that I'm going to be burned at the stake tomorrow on the listserv for saying that. But this is why I want to show you where the actual data lies. And we can't talk about percentage of miles an hour over a speed limit because it doesn't necessarily work that way. So moving forward in this is also something that our data collector collects is small, medium, large. When you think of a small, you think of everything up to about a Ford Explorer, and a large, you think of a garbage truck, box truck, that kind of thing. And medium's everything kind of left in the middle. So this is data that's pulled out of the radar speed feedback sign. And just remember, this is only inbound data. And this is also over a different period of time. This goes back to, don't make me say this, but I think it's October of 24. So this is a much longer arc look of data of vehicles coming into town. And it's nicely bell curved out. We like seeing bell curves when you start talking about statistics. By the way, my favorite thing about statistics, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. I think that's a Mark Twain quote. But this is a pretty decent looking graph if you want to see something that sort of fits what we expect to see when we look at these things. And you see the overwhelming majority of vehicles are sitting in that 26 to 40 range. You know, probably a good half of your vehicles are better, probably sit closer to that 85%, or probably closer to 70%, I'm sorry, are in that area of 26 to 40. And it's sort of where we want to see it if we talk about a 35 mile an hour speed limit rather than a 25. These are the 4 radar speed feedback signs that we currently get data from. And you see, with the exception of Church Street, and I think I know why Church Street is that way, but you see that most of them are fairly well distributed out. Has an enormous amount of vehicles coming in from Main Street. But I will tell you that that data is not, you have to be careful with that data because of how that sign is functioning right now. It's probably a little too sensitive because if you are coming from Hanover and it picks you up as you approach the traffic light and you stop at the traffic light because it's red, I hope you stop, and then you continue on into Norwich when it turns green, it counts you twice. So I think that's why we see 1.5 million cars in a year and a half. I don't think it's quite that high. So we got to do a little tweaking on that one that's why I say it's, tough to talk about some of those things without having some context about it. So that's the data. And, I will tell you that it is my opinion that a 25 mile an hour speed limit coming down Union Village from the hill is artificially low. And I know that's not going to make a lot of folks happy to hear me say that, but in the realities of it, when we cracked down on speeding, we cracked down on it back in the late summer, early fall. And it's tough when you get out there and you try to maintain 25 miles an hour coming down that hill. I will also submit that, there's a concern about pedestrian safety, and, pedestrian safety on roads is different than pedestrian safety on streets where we have sidewalks and where we have those buffer areas. I did notice a I think it was an AI generated sort of entry into town. And those are great traffic calming projects. They're certainly not in my budget on our side. So I will tell you that we wrote a lot of tickets last year. We did not write a lot of them the year before because of staffing. We did not write as many of them as perhaps we could have last year, but we were also, again, dealing with, we had to get Mike in and get him certified to write tickets in the state of Vermont. And it's a lot, it's a pretty big burden on officers based on their workload right now to really crack down on the speeding issue. But I will submit that for the chaos that is to come.
All right, thank you, Matt. All right, let's see if we can hear from some citizens. I'm having trouble reading the small print. Can somebody?
But don't you usually see if somebody in the room wants to speak first?
Well, we could do either way, I think. Okay, well, John Farrell, do you want to come up to call it the hot seat and
Have a cookie?
and then we're going to try to stay to 3 minutes, but maybe go around again if we need to.
Okay, I've been in the Upper Valley 40 years, living in Hanover, Thetford, Norwich, Brownsville. Back in the day when Chief Robinson was the police chief, it was well known that you did not speed in Norwich. Everyone knew that. Nowadays, that is anything but the truth. People constantly speed in Norwich. They constantly run stop signs on Elm Street, Turnpike Road, and Beaver Meadow Road. What you might call them roll-throughs. They don't come to stops at all. I'm really tired of it. When Jennifer Frank was the police chief, she came into my house. She pulled over. I flagged her down. She said on Turnpike Road, they do not stop people unless they're going over 45 miles an hour. And I think we all know that Turnpike Road is a very busy road for people walking their babies in baby carriages, runners, bikers, walkers. And 45 miles an hour is much too fast on Turnpike Road. And what I think we need is more tickets, start cracking down on these people that don't stop at stop signs, that go over the speed limit and become known, for example, like Woodstock. Everyone knows when you come into Woodstock, you slow down at that 25-mile-an-hour zone or you're going to get a ticket. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to give more tickets and make it known that Norwich is a town that you don't speed in. So
Thank you very much. I'm going to go on to Zoom. Christian Spalding, would you like to speak?
Oh,
okay, sorry.
can we just, I think that's a good idea that John gave a suggestions. Can we make sure everybody gives a suggestion if they have it?
Yes,
Resolution.
yeah, that's a very good point. Okay, Christian Spalding, would like to speak?
Thank you. So I live here on Church Street. I've written to the select board for correspondence about this issue in the past. I just wanted to point out a few things and a recommendation. So one, I think the Church Street data is a little misleading. There's a lot of the slow cars. There's French Farm Road and four-wheel drive right there at so anybody taking a right or a left is artificially lowering that data. When we walk around town, I have kids in elementary school, we live like maybe 3/4 of a mile from the elementary school, and it does not feel safe most days to walk on Church Street where the speed limit is 25 miles an hour. And that's with us walking with them. And I think that feeling tonight really is corroborated by the data shown. So the number one thing I want to highlight from tonight's data, and I know this was not the Church Street camera, but 9.5 or 9.7% of cars were within the speed limit. So that means, I don't know how the speed limit was set or when it was set, but that means 90 to 91% of cars are exceeding the speed limit in the data shown tonight by the police chief. So to me, whether they're 5 miles an hour or 15 miles an hour, nobody's even close to the 25 miles an hour. And that's exactly how it feels to walk around town. So as a recommendation, I know Marcia asked, like I would highly recommend the select board consider this. I'm open to other ideas of traffic calming presence. Those obviously come with a lot more infrastructure and expense. So like, I think sidewalks would be great. I think traffic speed bumps would be great. Narrowing of street lanes would be great. Those are much bigger infrastructure projects than enforcing the existing speed limits. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Oh, want to come up? Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. My name is Worth Parker, and I've lived in Norwich for 47 years and on Beaver Meadow Road, 22 Beaver Meadow Road for 28 years. So I'm not an expert in limiting speeding or traffic control, but I am an expert in the area that I live. And 28 years should count for something. And it's my perception and our family's perception and the 9 people who signed our petition that things have worsened considerably recently. And it's not just a Beaver Meadow Road issue, as you've been hearing and seeing. It's a town-wide issue. And I would like to submit to Matt, and thanks for your good work on that. But first of all, who chose where those signs go? For instance, on Beaver Meadow Road, you come down past Parcel 5 and enter in kind of an S curves, and there's the sign right there. And it's pretty hard to go real fast through that area to start with. Impossible. And I would submit that moving it further down the road, either the Legion or down to the Catholic Church, would give you a better sample. And if then you're going to say, we've written more tickets this past year than the year before, what's the outcome of those tickets? I mean, doing the actual function of writing a ticket may not have changed the behavior. And there are other things that could be done that might not be as expensive, but we've got to have the right measures in place so that if you come to the select board and ask for more funding, you've got the hard data. And I think you have to think about, is the data that you gathered really good data or not? Does it represent really what's going on? Some of it may, and some of it may not. And I'd just like to also say just a brief bit about that stretch right by Main Street coming around the end before you hit the Hobson Road. There's a crosswalk right there, those of you who go by there, and it's right beside the cemetery. And especially in the morning, if you're coming into town down Beaver Meadow Road, you cannot see as you come up that rise. Now, and I'm talking about going 15 miles an hour, you still can't see. So I would submit that the sun, you mean? Yeah, the sun is right in your face. And so it's very difficult to see. So that crosswalk is a very dangerous crosswalk for that reason, and because cars are gathering speed as they come down in the open area around the church, and they kind of come up the hill going very, very fast. So I'm giving you observations. I have no actual data on it, but those who've signed the petition have lived there for quite a while, and we sense that the problem is worse. We also support further enforcement, and maybe intermittently having the police there will be enough to gain the reputation back that you don't want to come into Norwich going fast, and that used to be the reputation.
Okay, and I think I also heard possibly moving location of speed signs, and also maybe reevaluating where that crosswalk is located. So those are suggestions.
Right.
Right.
And does my group have anything else that they'd like to add?
Oh my gosh, representative.
I'll say a couple of things.
Yeah, come on up though.
Yes,
come on up, because I'm we'll be on the recording that way. Identify yourself and so forth.
My name is David McCauley, also resident of the Speed Strip, known as Beaver Meadow.
Beaver
Meadow. We have no sidewalks to speak of. So if those are considered sidewalks, we're in real trouble. What happens is that in winter, particularly when it snows and the snow sits there for a long time and then the sun comes up and you get these vast puddles, you've got kids wandering into the street all the way down from the crosswalk to the intersection of Beaver Meadow and Main Street.
Due to sidewalk puddles.
Due to no sidewalks,
Yeah,
basically,
so
or not reliable sidewalks. So anyway, I know that's a different issue altogether, sidewalks probably.
Well,
It seems to me that this is a matter of picking and choosing that core set of streets, which includes Beaver Meadow, which includes Turnpike, where it's built up on both sides, and you do have pedestrian traffic. Those are the streets that I would think need to be policed, literally and figuratively, more seriously when it comes to speed. When you start to get out into the streets that delve, coming down Union Village Road, whatever that is, you are kind of in the country. And I sort of understand the reluctance to sort of move that 25-mile-an-hour limit. But I don't see it when you hit Main Street, for instance. I don't think there should be any question about that. When you hit a certain point on Beaver Meadow Road, it's 25 miles an hour. That's it. And you make it clear in whatever way or combination of ways you need to make it clear. Just don't extend it too far out into the sticks, because it doesn't make sense, and it's probably impractical from various points of view, including policing and signage and that sort of stuff. But it doesn't seem like rocket science. Where are most of the people? Where are the houses built up most densely, and from which people are likely to wander into town, go to school, go to Dan and Wits, whatever it is? You can figure that out. Again, the information would be nice to have the numbers to justify that, but you don't extend it, willy-nilly into the country. I don't think that makes any sense at all. I don't know that was anybody's intent, but I would suggest that the actual distances that we're needing to sort of control more carefully are relatively small. Density with sidewalks that work, I would say, great. Let's make sure those don't go over 25 miles an hour. It's not hard to do 25 miles an hour for like a 200-foot stretch or whatever it is. I don't know what the distances actually are, probably more than that, quarter of a mile. But
so you're suggesting to kind of think about a core area.
Yeah.
Walkable, but absolutely make it walkable. So
right.
Puddles in the sidewalks. And
you increase the walkability of it. Right. I mean, if you don't want to, your kids walking to school, that's, and you're out farther, then you have to go with them. You have to be more careful and hope for the best. But when you're in town and you're letting your guard down, which you should be able to do, especially if you're a kid riding your bike to school and stuff like that, you're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. There should be no problem with that. You could fix that.
Yeah.
So that's my
good. Right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there others here? There's also somebody online. Oh, Priscilla.
I remember back when my kids were young and we were known as a town where even adults said, "Oh, you don't come in." Somebody said to me, "I got pulled over going 27 miles an hour."
Yeah, my mom got pulled over.
Yeah, but I don't know how many police officers we had on staff in those days. I remember there was one called Officer Brinton that all the kids hated because they felt he was waiting to see them not quite stop at the bottom of Elm Street before they turned onto Main, and he always just seemed to be hovering around to try to keep the kids out of trouble, and they all hated him. But I mean, he seemed to be around town all the time. But that suggests to me that maybe we had more police officers then, so he was, that was his main job or something.
Yeah, and there's also a question of what else did the police have to deal with in town?
Right,
and they know, and we can see from the reports some of the different, incidents and things they have to deal with. So. Yeah,
but we don't have that many police officers,
Okay, well, I'll take your suggestions. More police officers, right? Or more.
Well, no,
more concentration.
If we had more police officers, maybe we could devote more police time
to
this. But I think that's
Okay.
Mary, excuse me.
We're just brainstorming tonight.
You got citizens waiting to speak, and I don't know if we need a history lesson.
Yes.
We have people waiting to speak.
I've noticed your hands up. Can you
That's
come into the
Emily.
fine print all the way to
Emily Sheriff.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Is it my turn? Okay. No,
Yes.
I'm glad this is on the agenda. It's an issue that I've noticed for a while. A couple of points here. First of all, based on the data that was presented, it seems like the enforcement efforts are strictly focused on incoming traffic. The placement of all of those solar powered signs are it seems like the plan is to just slow people down on the way in, and then that's it. I would say that based on the positioning of the data that was presented on the two-way traffic, the temporary placement, I would caution interpretation on that, just because that was placed right at a turn. A good proportion of those cars were slowing down to make a turn onto Turnpike, in that direction. The data that I can offer is that I do walk around a lot. I live on Hazen Street, I walk on Main Street, the Hobson and the Huntley Loop. Nobody stops at crosswalks. There is speeding. And I guess my suggestion, Marcia, to your point, I would suggest that, as others have here, that there's an effort to enforce the speed limit in town within the boundaries of those signs. I also agree that they're speeding, outside of those, and those signs are important, limiting speeding there. But there does not seem to be enforcement of the speed limit within town, within those areas where people are walking. Agree, sidewalks are unreliable. And I guess final point, because it's rare that as a statistician, I do get a call to action. I am a statistician, happy to analyze the data. But yeah, I guess that would be my suggestion. I do feel it as a pedestrian. My kids walk around here. I don't feel safe. I worry about it a lot. And I would just hope that could be taken seriously.
Okay, thank you. Jan?
Yes, thank you. A couple of things. I would love it if we could look into the data from the signs in depth. I would be careful about putting all our eggs into the data from those signs, because people know the signs are there. They slow down before they get to the signs, or I don't know when exactly the sign tracks their speed, but it's not just those signs. If the data collector is movable and not obvious, then move it around and take data that people don't know you're taking data for better data. So that's one thing about taking all our data from the signs. But looking at that data, I'm not so worried about people, the 85% and below. It's the exceptional people that do something dangerous. If you look at that math, 440 cars in that survey period were going over 50 miles an hour, coming into town right at the bottom of Partridge Street. That's 440. It's one of those that's going to hit a kid, not the 85% going 38 miles an hour. So I just, the average speed, it's not the average driver we're worried about. So I think that's very important. I think it's enforcement. It's building back up the reputation that this is how you behave and you go that speed limit in Norwich. And I just had one question about the reporting and the visibility, because if we want this to be a priority, it needs to be clearly reported. In the police monthly report, it used to track traffic stops. In June, it tracked traffic stops. There weren't very many. It said like 7 or 8 in a month, which surprised me. That isn't even a category on the report. The last 2 reports, the category traffic stop isn't even tracked. So when the chief says we're writing a lot of tickets, where is that reported? I would be curious to know. So
Thank you for that suggestion. Peter Werner?
Thank you, Mary. I want to thank everybody for their comments so far. And just if I could give a little context, because I appreciate what the chief had to say. I appreciate the situation the chief is in. I appreciate what he and his fellow officers do every day for us. In my mind, I hold the select board accountable for this discussion, because not long ago, 4 years, maybe a little less, the select board devoted $60K, I don't have the exact figure in front of me, to purchasing mobile speed signs that were movable, exactly like Jan just said. People on the current select board voted for that funding. What ended up happening was that money was used not for the intended purpose, the specific intended purpose, but instead to replace existing signs in the old locations that everybody in the Upper Valley knows where they are. So the data that the chief is citing is flawed greatly because of that, especially, and I live on Beaver Meadow. I want to especially thank the Beaver Meadow folks because Beaver Meadow continues to be a problem and there isn't sidewalks for much of it in the residential area, 25 miles an hour in town. At that turn, after parcel 5, of course you have to slow down. You'd roll your car if you went any faster than 30, 35 miles an hour on that turn. So you're getting data that is not accurate. And then I see it every day. People hit the accelerator into town every single day. And again, had the select board done its diligence, and I mentioned this to you all, and I could show you the emails that I sent some of you where I pointed this out. So at this point, I am thrilled that you're having this conversation, but I really, and I encourage everyone on this call and everyone in the meeting to follow up and make sure that you're not just taking our suggestions, and we appreciate it. And, you know, we're not going to hire more police. We know that, so that's not a real suggestion, but the real suggestions are coming to you. Now, here's mine. Purchase the mobile signs that you guys already agreed to purchase at $60K, whatever it was. The current signs are often, and all respect to the chief, I think they're out more than he's suggesting. I do a lot of skiing on parcel 5. That the Beaver Meadow sign, even though it's not in a great location, is often off. And the one on Turnpike is more often off than not. So yes, of course, get the mobile signs. But for me, this is less an enforcement issue, although I think absolutely more tickets would certainly slow cars down. But I think it's the commitment on the part of the town, the select board, the town manager, the DPW director, that pedestrian and walkability is a value that we want to do something about, and that we not just talk about it, but we absolutely invest in sidewalk maintenance, in perhaps new sidewalks, in perhaps speed tables. Go to Peterborough, New Hampshire, and look at the speed tables, which are not speed bumps. They don't damage your cars. They're rubber, and the town is incredibly welcoming and walkable. And I've mentioned this to you all as well. So I, again, very much appreciate it. I'm thrilled that this is on. I had no idea it was on the list. I would thank Andy and Emily for letting me know. But I think if you all are serious about this, you can't just do it in election season, by the way, and you can't just do it when we complain on the listserv. You've got to follow through and make our town more walkable. The town wants it. It's been very, very clear. There has been lots of data gathered. I think it's time to do something and not depend on data, especially data that is increasingly flawed. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Peter. Could someone read the small print? Brian Riordan, would you like to speak?
Sure.
Brian Riordan?
Yeah, yes.
You know what? It's interesting. I was gonna Molly, my wife is Irish and she always tells me it's like we pronounce the name wrong. So I'll let everyone know here on the list service. So put a little Texas slang on it. It's Riordan.
Is it Riordan? It is.
Yeah, it's Riordan. I know. I know. Trust me. My
Riordan.
wife's like, you guys pronounced it wrong your whole life. And I'm like,
Hey,
I know I do.
You got it now. It's Riordan. Thank
Riordan.
you.
All right. Thank you all so much for the meeting. Sorry for jumping in earlier. I hadn't actually been to one of these in a while, so I wasn't sure if we were in live debate mode or discussion. So apologies for jumping in before. But the chief of police is correct. Data matters, numbers matter, stats matter. And what we have is the speed limit is 25 miles per hour, and only 30% of the cars are actually going under 30 miles an hour. Period. It's like there's no other question to be had, right? Like that is the speed limit, and only 30% of the cars, 1 out of 3, is going the actual speed limit or 5 miles per hour over the speed limit even. And that is just ludicrous, right? I would love to see the numbers of the number of infractions we had. I know that the chief did stage a sting operation at the bottom of the hill last spring. I have not seen a car pulled over since then. So I'd be very curious if that was a shock and awe moment to try to understand, but nothing has happened since then, right? The fear with 85% is that we're allowing cars to dictate our community. We're allowing people, and a group of people, maybe a lot of folks who are coming into town recently, to then go faster and say, hey, 85 is no big deal. 85%, that's the new curve. That's our new bell. That's how good I feel. Let's get more people to go 85% more. What if we had 85% more on Main Street? That's only 40 miles an hour. Why not? If I feel good about it, you should feel good. Why don't we all feel good? Right? And the reason is because we want a different town. We want a different feeling. And when you're in this house right here looking out on the road, you feel 40 miles an hour. It moves the windows. 25 miles per hour it doesn't. 55, 60, it's terrifying. Be really honest. Everyone's welcome to come over for coffee. We'll sit here. We'll feel cars the whole time. And we did have that speed limit sign moved up the hill, right? Because that's where the village starts. The town itself starts up at the top of the hill. And we did a bunch of research into it and found that actually inside the town village limits, the speed limit is 25 miles an hour. That's why we moved the speed limit up to the top of the hill. That's why I've been proposing that we move the speed limit sign to the top of the hill, not because everyone races to the bottom and then slams on the brakes before they get to an intersection of 3 really important roads. Well, maybe Partridge is a little less important, but Willie Hill and the Turnpike Road as well. And that is a massive, the ton of times we hear brakes squealing and the amount of times people are just not in a good headspace is more than we should have. And so I think where I would just like go with this is like, this is a choice for the community. This is the choice for us to push onto the chief of police to say, we actually don't care about 85% percentiles and the FA laws and all of this. We actually care about our town and we want you to enforce this speed limit. And
okay, so your suggestion is more enforcement, tougher enforcement, mostly.
Yeah, because I don't think the speed tables will work on probably Beaver Meadow, and I would strongly advocate that. But on this, I would never put a speed table on the hill, right? Like no cars would make it up in the winter time and stuff like that. So we have to be practical as well, right? But yeah, I mean, but I would get first off, to see the speed rating right at the bottom of the hill, you need to be within 10 feet. It's so small. There's no calming lights of the blue flashiness. There's no license plate readers to try to understand, do we have like ongoing people that are causing the same problem over and over again? This is a handful of people that are doing that created those speed limits that we should be able to flag and see and let the police know, maybe, right? But if it's at the top of the hill when the speed limit changes. Yeah. So I think we can do more. I mean, the amount of times that myself or Jared or Emily Myers or I've hand waved someone to slow down and they flick us off, honk the horn, and swerve at us is ludicrous. It's insane. And I would, please, Chief, come walk with me. Let's walk the hill. I'll guarantee you will be like, this should be a 15-mile-per-hour road. This is crazy. Because it is really intense. And we've created a culture for other drivers outside this community that says 85th percentile is the speed limit. Not 20.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is it Jen Shepherd? Jen Shepherd?
Yep, thank you. I thank you for what everyone has said, and I agree with it. It's interesting that there's uniformity in what everyone's saying. But one thing I do want to say is I live on Church Street, and I'm at the lower end. And I can see the speed signs from my house, and they don't make a difference. I see it flash at 45 to 50 all the time, and it never slows the cars down. And my neighbors and I are outside all the time, and it is scary. And what Brian said about the house shaking, the windows rattling, that happens. And that is, there are dogs and children, and it's very unnerving. And just what Brian said, if the speed limit is 25, why are we accepting people to go 40 and above, or not stopping anyone who's going over 40? I don't understand that. And I just want to reiterate that those signs really don't make much of a difference, whether they're working or not, and they are working less than what the chief said in his report. I mean, I see it, and it's good to know that the cold plays a part, but they're frequently not working. So I just want to put another pitch in for reinforcement and to encourage that to the select board. Thank you.
Thank you. And who do we have? Andy Scher. Andy Scher, would you like to speak?
Yes, hi, thank you.
couple things. One, I would just like to ask the chief why the physical hardwired monitors were replaced with solar battery powered ones in the same location. Why not take those and put them in a new location? It's the poles that they're already hooked up to are set and ready to take it. Why don't we buy new ones and then take those movable ones, move them around town so we can get data inside the village, because there's none. Also,
Is that a question for the chief? Do you want an answer or just a rhetorical?
I mean, if he's hearing me, or why were they moved? Why did they replace a physical infrastructure hardwired thing when they were intended for other places? So that's one question. Oh, sure.
Let's let him answer it.
Okay, great.
He's still here.
Short version is I have no idea. They were sitting in the garage at the police department when I was hired in August of 23. And that was one of the first things the town manager asked me to do, was to get them put up. I really would have rather had the hardwired ones, quite frankly.
But we have both now.
So do we have, or
hang on.
Can
Yeah,
we hook up new ones to the ones that are there? Or the ones that are there, the older ones? I know those went out, they weren't great. There's probably a new generation of them. LEDs have come a long way. Why don't we
that's what's up, is the new generation of them. In the budget, just since I know it's come up, in the budget for next year, I've asked for a mobile sign that we'll be able to move around. It'd be nice to have more than one, but we'll have one that we can move around. The data collector now we can move around for a couple weeks at a time, pretty much anywhere we want to.
All right. And Andy, did you have a second question?
Yeah, I just have a comment. So in working with Two Rivers Ottaquechee, I think that they are our regional commission. And so they have a lot of resources that we can, as a town, lean on them or ask them for assistance for these kind of things. There are grants. A couple of years ago, when Rod Francis was town manager, he turned down the opportunity to apply for a grant that would have covered 80% of the cost of some infrastructure projects that would increase safety. So I think that there are things out there. I encourage the select board, the police department, to look at these things, figure out what these options are, and plan for these things. And I think using the resources from the Planning Commission, tying them into our regional plan. I know Hartford has, the Route 5 corridor is a really important thing on that regional plan. And so we should be doing everything we can to align with that plan and look for money that is out there that we can use to make our town and community safer.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other? Yes, come on up. Brendan.
So, Brendan Klassen, Elm Street. This might be a unique occasion for me to speak for the last time as a citizen, not a member of the select board.
You'll be both, but yes.
So maybe eyes are on me because of this as well. So being a crossing guard in town, it would be remiss of me to not weigh in. My personal experience at the Church Street crossing, and two folks have mentioned it today. I think it was Jen and maybe Christian, who live on Church Street. I'm operating on the crossing guard much closer to Main, so by the time the cars come through me, the vast majority are at or below the speed limit.
Is that near Elm Street you're crossing?
No, Church Street.
Church Street, okay.
Right there by the church.
Right by the Congregational Church.
Okay.
So I think that's a positive thing, and it doesn't necessarily apply to further down Church Street, as I think we've heard from Jen and Christian. So that's just one thing I wanted to weigh in on. Being a crossing guard, I think, and Kimo, you are as well. I don't know whether you're recused from commenting on this based on your previous. Anyway,
so there's interest for.
So I think that's good. And then to Brian's point, Brian, I'm not going to get it right. Riordan, right? So he sort of alluded to the fact that cars are kind of holding folks' pedestrians perhaps in particular hostage. And I think if you consider, and I know this for a fact because when I walk into town from the Science Museum, the radar detector outside Lily Tryman's house picks up my speed at 3 to 4 miles per hour when I'm walking. Now, it's obviously left out of the data because it's too low to be recognized, but I know that I'm walking at 3 to 4 miles per hour, which most pedestrians do. So the stopping distance when you're a pedestrian at 3 to 4 miles per hour is 1 pace, 3 feet. The stopping distance for a car doing 25 miles per hour is probably 10 times that, 30 feet. And I think that plays to Brian's point about the intimidation and the hostage aspect. And I think drivers perhaps rely so much on the short and readily reliable stopping distance of a pedestrian, and they're allowed to go on because they're bigger, they've got longer stopping distances, and they need more latitude. So I think that's a very important point. Stopping distance is everything in case of an emergency, an accident, or whatever it may be. So, you know, I think the chief has done a phenomenal job. I know Mike, Patrolman Mike, Mike he is like a dog with a bone. He will just go after drivers who run the flashing lights on Main Street.
And bikes.
He's fantastic. The police are fabulous in this town. There's no question about that. But I think we're hearing a lot from community members tonight. It's a very walkable town. It's pedestrian friendly. There's a lot of kids. I'm invested in the kids' safety because that's my job. It's the chief's job as well and all the police officers. So I just wanted to sort of make that comment. I think stopping distance is critical from that standpoint. And in Australia, many years ago, they had a wipe off 5 campaign, which was to cut your speed limit by 5 kilometers. Apologize for the metric per hour. And that made an enormous difference in traffic accidents, pedestrian industries, cyclists, and everything in built-up areas in my town in Australia. So,
is it a town-wide thing or a provincial thing?
It was a statewide thing.
Statewide. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, state of Victoria. So, I think I think I'll probably use my 3 minutes. So, I yield back to the chair.
Thank you.
But I hope that's helpful.
That's great. Thank you. And I noticed, Jan, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I'll be quick. I would, if the chief is there, I would like him to answer the question about the reporting of traffic stops. Where in the police monthly report does it say how many stops were made and how many tickets were issued? Because I don't see it on that report, and I used to see it on the reports. So that's one thing, and then I just had one follow-up.
Okay, so Matt, do you want to respond to that? Are you there, Matt?
Oh, my apologies. I was muted.
Okay, sorry.
I was using good Zoom hygiene.
Yes.
So we had an update to our records management system, and I lost the ability to pull that factor. Whenever you saw the last one in the monthly report, all of a sudden we couldn't pull that data. And now we've got that fixed, so I can pull that data again now.
Okay, thank you.
I would say that it's probably the case that if we wrote 100 tickets, the community would probably want 200, and if we wrote 200, they'd probably want 400. So I feel a little. I feel the pressure, and I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. I just want to manage expectations that there's a lot going on that keeps us from doing as much necessarily traffic work as we may like to do.
Can I follow up, please?
Sure.
So when it was recorded, say in June, it was something like 8 stops a month. So we're talking 2 a day, kind of 2 a week. And so, we're not talking hundreds. We're talking a few, and we're asking for enforcement. And I think the key point here is that the police department has lots of things that are going on, and then they have a certain percentage of their time where it's discretionary time. The officer and a cruiser can be doing one thing or another. we are asking, all these people talking now are asking that the priority for that discretionary time of our officers goes up a notch or two for speed enforcement and giving tickets, reporting tickets, and getting that reputation back. And I would ask, as a final suggestion, I would ask if the select board can weigh in. Do you agree that we have a problem with speeding in Norwich and traffic safety, and that you will talk to the town manager and the police chief to increase the priority on this issue? Thank you.
All right. And I believe Peter Orner, did you want to?
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Just
again?
3 points. If enforcement is a reality, of course, we should increase it. And I think just to echo Jan's question and to double down on it, will you talk to them, the town manager, police chief, et cetera, about actually doing that and having some accountability? Because I think that's what we're lacking here. To go to Andy's question about the mobile signs, and we don't need to get into the ancient history of it, but that was an example where the select board failed to inquire, wait a second, we authorized an expenditure for for speed signs that were movable, and we got ones that weren't. Nobody asked that, even though you were prompted a number of times. The second question, this is more direct to you. You'll recall, I think this was in 2022, I've been in touch with the planning director about it. The town passed, you all, the select board, proposed a warrant article to authorize $50,000 to further study a possible sidewalk on Beaver Meadow, in addition to study walkability and create a pedestrian safety plan throughout the town. When I followed up on that, I was told by then successive board chairs that they couldn't act on it because we had no planning director. So there's been $50K parked to work on this issue that, again, select board, with all respect to all the work you do, you never followed up and said, wait a second, that was our ballot measure. You proposed it, Roger Arnold wrote it, then never followed up on it. Never asked, wait a second, what are we doing with that money? So my question is, and can someone tell me at some point, if not tonight, at some point, what happened to that $50,000? And can we use it, perhaps the planning commission, or perhaps some other body that looks into this and uses this money to work on what it was supposed to, which is specifically walkability on Beaver Meadow, but walkability throughout the town in general. And my final question, again, is what will you do with this? Really echoing Jan, because I don't want this, we're about to have a transition, as Brennan, all respect to his work, and we're about to have a transition, and these things tend to get lost when there is a transition. So at what point will you continue to act and do something, as opposed to, and I very much appreciate having this forum because we wanted it and now we're getting it, but I would like to know what kind of commitment we're getting from the select board to follow up on this. I'm in the fire department. I know how much Chief Romei works and his officers work. I know what else they do, often accidents on 91. They can't be patrolling all the time. So more has to be done to address these issues in order for change to happen. And that really, really depends on select board following up with the town manager. And that's what I'm encouraging us to do. And I'm willing to help in any way that I can. And I'm sure other people on this in this meeting would as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, any other follow-up questions or comments? Go ahead,
I will say, as a member of the select board now, I'll be on another 2 years. I'm really interested in this. I'm also a crossing guard. I see every morning things that concern me greatly. People are going fast, and it's a little terrifying to me. I was a crossing guard on Halloween, and I am really happy nobody got squashed. That was the most terrifying evening of my year. So I'm hoping we can work on that. I think there are a number of measures that we can probably look at. I've worked on this in the past with urban planning and so on, how to slow traffic, how to do any number of things. I live off of Beaver Meadow Road, and I know that when I take a left and I go down that hill, people pull up behind me and they want to go faster. And when I turn off onto Dutton Hill Road, they speed off. So I'm familiar with all that, and it concerned me. So I think I take this very seriously and would love to be working on this over the next couple of years.
Marcia?
So it's interesting to me that people haven't really talked much about speed bumps because I live off Hobson and I hate those speed bumps, but they work. And I think that this is a situation where no one size solution is going to suit the whole town. I think there needs to be a mix of things based on certain areas. Nobody's really talked about the entrance into town from Hanover, but that's where I've spent most of my life traveling. And, you know, just recently I was telling the board about being passed by somebody going through a red light. It was, you know, something like 9 o'clock at night, and they just sped at 50 miles an hour right past me and into town. And I think it's impossible to think that we can have enforcement in every place that we need enforcement. So we need to think about some other things. I mean, I was even thinking maybe we need sort of a roundabout there before we come in. But, you know, then you get talking about you've got a state highway, and that's maybe not up to us. So I think what we need to do as a board is look at this in terms of a number of options and the different locations where those options might apply. Because we in rural New England are a lot like Boston, right? Everybody understands Boston is a 17th century community, and we're trying to deal with it in the 21st century. And that's what's happening here. And I think I would just urge us to look at a variety of things and put together, maybe if you have to, a tiered plan. But I think the easiest low-lying fruit would be the center of town, and you could easily put speed bumps there to stop people right off the bat.
I would suggest, you know, it said at the beginning that we should have a follow-up meeting, and I think we should do that in April, maybe in late March or April, just see if we could get some feedback. The chief says he's going to put his, reporting line back in, maybe try to bump up enforcement a little bit, but then just think about some low-hanging fruit, get some ideas from chemo, but just have a follow-up meeting with some more ideas about what could be done. And some projects might be, really beneficial that are very expensive and huge, but we could start small and see what we can do. So,
yeah.
All right. Anyone have a last comment or question? We had a pretty.
Maybe.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think to Peter, your point, I think I fully, this is Brendan again. I fully agree, and I think obviously as a crossing guard, my commitment to children pedestrian safety is very high. But I think pedestrian safety in the town, it's second to none. So as I come into the select board, nothing falls through the cracks on this.
Uh-oh, you said it on tape.
And that's just where I stand.
We all do our best. So.
Wait till you're sidelined by
you,
all the minutia.
All right. Okay, I think we're going to move on from this topic. Thank you all for your input today. We'll take it seriously and try to follow up on it. Our next agenda item is a presentation by the Emerald Ash Borer Management Subcommittee about their plan to remove dangerous ash trees. And
the traffic calming devices.
Traffic calming.
That'll block the traffic.
For sure, right.
It's a very dark metaphor.
Sorry. So thank you for this opportunity to give a little bit of an overview of what we've been doing. My name is Doug Hardy, and we've got Steve Long and Peg Marins, who are both also on the committee here. We are here primarily because there were some questions that came up during a previous select board meeting in terms of the request we had for a second round of funding during FY27. And so I really just want to give a brief overview of the emerald ash borer and what we've been doing, and then see what kind of questions you might have of us, and we can clear that up. So we're not asking for anything. We're just providing some information here tonight. As many of you know, or some of you know, that the emerald ash borer is a beetle that came from Asia initially to Michigan, and then in 2018 it was found in Orange, Vermont, and not confirmed in Norwich until January of 2024. So just over 2 years ago was the very first emerald ash borer in Norwich, despite a lot of discussion and purple traps that we saw 5-10 years ago looking for them. And so with the recognition that emerald ash borer was here, Chris Rimmer, the chair of our group, pulled together 8 other residents to form a task force a couple of months after that, and we've been working since then. As soon as we started looking back in May of 2024, we found that the ash borer had spread throughout town. It was everywhere in Norwich. And then we're doing some quick initial counts. We extrapolated that to all 75 miles of the roads in Norwich, and we were looking at on the order of 10,000 ash trees along roads, which would potentially be of concern. Most of those, of course, are leaning away from the road. Not most of them, but some of them are leaning away from the road, or they're too small, or they're too distant from the road, so they aren't really a great concern. But there are some things about ash trees that really do make it unique and make it a very important concern to mitigate their death and falling onto roads. The emerald ash borer kills trees very quickly, 2 to 3 years oftentimes. When they do die, or as they die, the wood shrinks and it splits and it becomes very brittle. So a little bit of wind can knock them over, and they fall unpredictably. Most arborists are prohibited from climbing and cutting ash trees when there's more than 20% or so of the canopy is affected by the ash borer, because they are so unpredictable. And the big problem, of course, is public safety, which is what motivated, I think, all of us to get involved. And in Norwich, the infestation has proceeded faster than many other neighboring towns, partly because we've got a greater density of ash trees, partly because perhaps there was some firewood coming in from other areas at some point. But at this point, our response as a management committee and as a town needs to be reactive rather than proactive. A lot of towns, before the ash borer was even found in their town, had cut many or even all of the ash trees in town because they're so much easier to cut, so much safer to cut before they get infested with the ash borer. But we don't have that luxury. Now ours are either dead often or dying, and the trees need to be cut because they will start to fall into the roads. And I would like to point out one accomplishment unrelated to cutting and removing the ash trees that our group has done, because we do all like ash trees, is on a limited scale, we have done some private fundraising for inoculation of public, Norwich-owned public ash trees down at Foley Park, on the green, around Marion Cross, at the pizza oven. Most of the trees at the transfer station have been treated at private expense, and yet they're town trees. So that's kind of a positive note from the standpoint of dealing with these things. Sorry?
Is it working?
There's 95 or so success rate with that particular insecticide. It's very targeted. It's very constrained. We're not insecticide people, but we feel very good about applying it in that situation. So anyways, our mission is protecting public safety. And so toward that end, with these ash trees, we selected segments of town roads which we felt had the highest speeds and the greatest volume of traffic. There are no good data that are comparable from one road to the other. We looked into that, but so we did it subjectively, came up with a total of about 14 miles. And on those 14 miles, we inventoried about 1,500 ash trees. And established for each of them the relative priority for them to be removed. We flagged those that are we deem priority, and we've got 450 trees that are within the town right of way, which is 1.5 rods from the center line, and it's the area that the town has both responsibility and control. The town can cut trees in that right of way that are infested with disease without even going to the landowners, although we have now contacted every landowner with the tree in that right of way. And then there's 28 trees in the utility right of way, which we're working with Green Mountain Power. They are evaluating a list of trees that we have found which are within 10 feet of an energized line. And they will make a decision about whether to proactively remove those before they fall down and take down the wires. And I know the big question everybody has is about cost, and this has been the most difficult thing for us to grapple with, because if you go to an arborist and ask, at a cocktail party or something and say, I want to have a tree cut down, how much will it cost? They won't even give you a ballpark because there's so many variables. And in the case of the ash trees, it's the density of trees along the road, so they can have scale questions. It's the diameter of the tree, the health of the tree, whether traffic control is required, which we now have learned very recently from the director of public works that we need full traffic control for cutting these trees. And then whether or not the landowners will permit the tree to just be dropped onto their land, or whether they don't want that tree to be there because the right of way is their land. And that's a factor of 2 in terms of the cost. So we've made a lot of attempts to try to get estimates, and we don't have anything that we have any confidence in. But within the next week, hopefully, we've got a request for proposals going out. It'll be advertised at the state level and locally and targeted, and the market will decide what it's going to cost to cut our infested trees. As I think most of you know, that we have an appropriation from last year's budget of $100,000, which we have not spent a penny of. There's been some bureaucratic delays, but also it's been a lot of work to prepare for that. The proposal will go out, or the request for proposal will go out, and we're hopeful, but not necessarily optimistic that all 450 of those trees can be cut. But we certainly will have a very good, very precise handle on what it's going to cost for different size classes and different roads within town. And then there'll be another round of cutting, where we will very conservatively balance the risk to safety of a tree, which is maybe leaning, maybe diseased, with others or structurally defective, versus the cost to remove that. But we have put in a request for FY27 by petition, which we did simply because it seemed like the board was deeply immersed in budgetary questions and so on. By the time we realized that we needed to get that approval by March, even though we had not spent the other money, we clearly are going to need additional money. And so if we, for some reason, don't need it, of course, we will not spend it. We are doing this scrupulously. And so that explains why we've got the petition article. There's 2 resources I'll close with, one being the Norwich Conservation Commission website. It's norwichconservation.org. There's a tremendous amount of EAB information. We've got photographs. We've got links to every one of our list service posts. There's been over 20 of them. And then if you can't find the information there, you need EAB Norwich, all one word, at Gmail. Will send us a query to get questions answered. And so I would love to hear if other questions that we can help answer in terms of budgetary stuff or otherwise.
I have a question, actually. So at the very beginning, you said arborists are not allowed to
climb
trees that are they're not allowed to climb.
Right.
So your approach as far as who the RFP is being sent to, or what approach there would be?
Yeah.
Are we talking cranes? Are we talking the big snipper devices like the logging.
We're keeping an open mind. Those would be two options. That
Everything, because,
Right.
because there's all different
Right,
situations.
and other towns, Steve has been involved with one in particular, but other towns have utilized a variety of different approaches. There's sort of the logger approach where they'll come in and with a feller buncher and cut them and very quickly, but rather messily, get the trees out of the way. And then there's arborists who come in kind of surgically with a crane or some kind of a lift device and take it down from the top because they can't climb them. And it would be difficult to climb anyways because we've got so many power lines. You think about Beaver Meadow, which everybody's talked about. There's just power. It'd be very difficult to just do a standard cutting of a tree.
Okay,
So,
thank you. And
yeah, that was a good question and Steve in particular has been stressed the importance of getting the request for proposal out to a variety of different approaches.
Yeah.
And because there will be a price difference, but it's not without other consequences. Yeah.
Okay, Kimo, did you have a question?
I just wanted the email again that you mentioned.
EAB Norwich.
EAB.
All one word.
Yeah, good.
At Gmail.
Yeah.
At Gmail, right.
Marcia?
Thanks.
So I think I mentioned to you before, we had a massive tree.
When you're in your backyard.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that tree wasn't infected. It was just, it had something else wrong with it.
Right.
We ended up having some arborists come and they actually did have a man who climbed it, but they also had like phalanx of people around with a big thing that muckled onto it. And it was a process and it cost a lot of money.
Right.
But, and it was all taken away, thank goodness. But, I'm just kind of wondering when we're going to see a lot of activity because, I drive and I see these worrisome blue marks on the trees. And I think
some of which have been there for over a year now because I'll just digress for a second. And we had a plan to do a pilot cut back in November of 2024. So within 8 months over when EAB was first found in Norwich. We got bids on that, and we marked 22 trees on Beaver Meadow on the curvy section in hopes of being able to use that information to better get a grasp on what the cutting would cost. And the average price was about $1,000 per tree, but some of those were very big. They were all messy. It was not a very large quantity. So we're confident we can get trees cut for much less than that. But so to answer your question, I guess when things might happen, we had our second missed target was we were hoping to do this cut during October, November when the leaves were all down, but we had complications in terms of safety with snow removal and the desire to not have any of that work going on when there was snow. So we're now hoping as soon as the roads are unposted in April would be our start date, and it would be completed as quickly as possible, potentially by the end of June. It might spill a little bit into July, depending on how fast the work is going, but
follow up. Yeah, go ahead. We do a lot of walking over on the Dresden fields and there's a lot of trees marked over there. Are you doing those trees?
no.
Okay.
Near the athletic fields?
Yeah, like in the forest there.
I've seen those. I do some trail work over there and I've seen those, and I have no idea what that's about.
Okay.
They probably aren't ash. They may be other species, but.
Another question.
Yeah.
When you're bidding this out, are you doing it by roads? Because we have all our commuter roads by sections. Would you bid out the entire network of trees? And also, because you may run out of money, because they're priority for certain spots or.
Yeah, that's another good question. We've identified 6 roads in Norwich. Beaver Meadow, Turnpike, Union Village, New Boston, and then Elm and Hobson, because those are such popular walking routes, and there aren't that many trees there. And we, I guess Steve had the idea to put the request for proposal out sort of in sections so that companies could bid on just one of them or on collective one. but that's been, we've been requested to not do it that way.
By whom?
Someone who is overseeing our work, shall we say?
The town manager?
No, it wasn't.
Is there a logic to what you're saying
his feeling was that we would be unlikely to have anybody bid on that small of a project.
Larger is better in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, we can get somebody to bid on the whole thing. That would be our preference too.
Clear it out as much as possible would be good. Yeah.
Right. But hopefully, it remains to be seen exactly how it'll be carried out. But I think we all like the idea of it being sort of sequentially done. So we've got we've moved on from one road to the other, and rather than cutting on all 6 roads simultaneously.
Right.
And there will be full traffic control.
Right. It's going to be a big deal.
Yeah. So we may not. That's of course part of the expense.
Right. Other questions?
We'll have something else in the listserv about the ballot petition article to try to drum up support from the voters for it.
Good.
But thanks for your support in a year ago when we did this. And
it's amazing to me how some people, I don't know, they just don't pay attention. And I had somebody saying to me, why are we going to spend all this money trying to inoculate these trees? And I said, excuse me, the money that we get it and we're asking for is to cut down the ones that are likely to fall in the road. Oh.
I mean, inoculation is relatively cheap compared to the cost of cutting down some of these large trees.
People don't understand. You're
right.
trying to do.
Right. That's all been done privately and individually at this point.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tree removal is expensive, and trees are of huge value, particularly ash trees. They actually uptake salt from besides the roads and reduce the amount of salt that's introduced into the environment. So it's a lot of positives to ash trees. And they're beautiful, right?
Well, I've always said, I think you guys are like the poster children for what a committee should be.
It's hard work.
I would second.
Well, yeah, thanks for the pat on the back. It's because it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
We talk about speeds on these roads. We're out on those trees measuring the distance from the center line, measuring diameters, and it's terrifying sometimes.
Yeah.
We sort of wonder, why am I volunteering for this?
You need a vest like Brenda's.
Well, so one of the reasons that we are asking for more funding, obviously, is because, well, we're hopeful that we can cut all the trees that we've identified with the funding there is, but there may not be enough. But obviously, that there'll be more to do because we haven't finished. There's some main pieces of road that we haven't finished. We've only done a portion of New Boston. We haven't done Turnpike Road yet, and then we'll have to again
regroup. Yes,
to make decisions based upon traffic volume and speed. Yeah.
The Turnpike is the biggest one, probably neglected.
Yeah.
We got almost all of Union Village.
This may be a huge traffic calming project too.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know you were sending letters out to people who had diseased trees on private land, not public land. And
it was only on public, well, it's private land, but it's within the right of way.
Right. The town,
because
there were some people some property owners you felt you needed to, or all of them, to notify and say, we want to do this, and kind of say you want the stuff taken away, or can we leave it?
Yeah.
Have you been getting good response to that?
Yes. Steve's been tabulating the total, and
50 out of 80 landowners.
It's more like 70, I think.
Out of 70
total, I think.
50 out of 70.
Is that the response?
So yeah, so we're gaining up.
Good.
That's pretty good.
I mean, that's a really good thing you're doing, and I'm sure it's frustrating because it requires a lot of patience and probably a lot of explanations to people.
Yeah, people have been pretty good about, and I think because we've tried to do a lot of education, even the listserv posts and flyers in the post office and so on. People have been pretty supportive of
Yeah,
it, so.
and we talked a lot to folks when we were collecting signatures, and it was
very supportive. Folks are very supportive and ready to sign on. So.
Right.
All right, and Brendan?
So you said the first case was discovered in 2024?
On Elm Street.
In the town?
Yes.
Right. I think that might have been, I live on Elm Street, that might have been the tree.
Was that outside the Bartlett's house? That was the first one you took?
No, it was up from there. It was one of the larger houses up closer to Hobson. I probably shouldn't say their name, but I think you might all know who.
That's okay, that's okay. So you've identified 1,500 trees that are affected.
We've looked at and inventoried 1,500. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and not all of those are necessarily infested.
Okay.
Some of
And
those
how
15
many have been removed so far?
I think we're up 10, 15, not very many. The tree warden cut down a few. I cut down a few. Green Mountain Power cut down a couple. The one in the Bartlett's tree on Elm Street was cut.
Yeah.
So there haven't been very many.
It was in the middle of winter this time a year ago.
That's right. It was a
I
snowstorm.
know. I was so impressed you guys did that, or the arborists or whatever.
Yeah,
So
right. We're hoping he bids on more.
I think given that the first case was only in 2024, I think you're making remarkable progress. Identifying, tagging.
Thanks. That's encouraging.
The removal will obviously take a longer time and you've got to prioritize, right?
But we don't have to do it.
Yeah, you don't have to do it. You contract it out.
Our work is done.
It's going to be road, it's going to be severity, risk of falling, public health hazard, etc.
Right.
They'll be prioritized. But thank you. It's
Yes, thank
very,
you very much.
helpful.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right.
Well, thanks for your time.
Yes.
Good information.
Okay.
And Lucinda.
I don't know if they could do our trees first.
Now, let's have Lucinda come up.
I don't know if they could do our trees first.
So we have Lucinda Walker here to talk about the library request for a letter of support.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for sticking me in what is an incredibly packed meeting. Lucinda Walker, Library Director, Norwich Public Library.
Excuse me just for a minute. Can you guys take your conversation to the hallway? Thank you. Go ahead.
So almost exactly 2 years ago, I was also at a meeting asking for a letter of support for a U.S. Treasury grant, which we were not awarded, unfortunately. But I'm here tonight because the Department of Libraries is working with HUD to offer a grant. It's $9.4 million, not to one entity. That's all the money they have. It's a grant for public libraries in the state of Vermont that are facing crucial infrastructure issues. They hope to do a grant one in each county. The scope of our project is to replace our boiler, which is prior to 1999. And the last time Irving came to check on it, he was like, well, you're on your own. And it's been working.
I'm familiar with that.
Yes, I think you all know. So we have the boiler that needs to be replaced, which would also include the thermostats, the electrical, the heating units. We need to have some work done on our chimney. The liner needs to be replaced. There's some funky venting right now. Our hot water heater is currently attached to the boiler, so we're running it year round. So we would like to get an electric hot water heater and couple those. And we have 2 skylights that are beautiful over the the downstairs stairway, which have been leaking for the last year. And we are hoping to replace that. So that's the scope of the project. It requires a letter of support from the municipality that we serve. I did draft one that might be in your packet. If the select board chooses to sign this letter of support, I would need it by the 15th of March. So there's not a huge quick turnaround. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
So I did forewarn Lucinda. The library is replacing an old boiler, and I have to ask the energy efficiency question about what kind of boiler.
Sure.
It's going to be replaced with.
Yes, so we have an oil boiler now, and we are replacing it with another oil boiler. The original plan was actually to install heat pumps as well as a secondary source, but because this grant is written for crucial, and I talked to the Department of Libraries about this, sometimes heat pumps can be seen as an extra and as an add-on because that would not be our primary source of heat. I did do the numbers yesterday. I want to say about energy efficiency, we were completely re-insulated in 2014. And the Energy Committee, thanks to them, we are very early adopters of window inserts. So right now we are burning or using 402 gallons of oil less a year every year since 2014 as compared to prior to 2014. And I just ran those numbers, even this year when it's so cold. So we do have a pretty tight building with the exception of the leaking skylights. But yes, we have wanted to move more to electricity. We are connected to a solar array through SolarFlex. So at some point, I hope to be able to put in heat pumps for air conditioning at the very least, because that's another area that we are struggling with.
It sounds like you could follow up at a different time with a different grant.
A different grant, yes.
And also separating the water heater out is also very good for climate.
And, I'm embarrassed to say I've worked there 24 years and I felt I don't fully understand the mechanicals. And when they pointed that out to me, I was like, well, that explains so much about why, we are having our oil filled in non-heating months.
Mm-hmm. Have you any idea how much money all this, it's not, all you're asking us to do is sign the letter.
Yeah, no.
But any idea what
We're
it costs?
looking at about $130,000 to $140,000, depending on contingency, the cost of contingencies. We need to go through an environmental review because this is a HUD federal grant. We have to go through an environmental review, a historic preservation review. We need to work with a design consultant. There's a number of hoops that we have to go through once we're awarded the grant. So we have to put in money for those types of things, which makes it a little bit more expensive, but far less than the original grant 2 years ago, which was $950,000 because we were going to do a whole new HVAC system.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Other questions? Marcia, do you have one?
I have two.
Okay.
First one is, do you have CO2 monitors on every floor?
We do.
Good.
Yes.
And do you have a plan B if you don't get this?
The plan B, that's a great question. The plan B will be to probably do some private fundraising. We have about $60,000 in a capital reserve fund that we can use. But that is probably the plan B. We're hoping very much to get this.
Other questions, Kimo?
Did you say you were replacing the heating units inside as well?
Yeah, the baseboard heaters are all rusted and the zones are a little funky and have broken. So we probably try to do that as well.
So if you're doing that, can you plan ahead for an air to water heat pump for future?
That's a great question, Kimo. That came up actually about 2 days ago. Yeah. Maybe when we're working with a design person, that would be part of the planning to look ahead, because ideally we would like to make things as efficient as possible, because this is not something, I certainly hope that this system outlasts me, but I would like it to be something that the next person can build upon.
I think the cost of the radiators things is not any higher, but you need bigger surfaces because the temperature is lower, all that.
Right.
But if you could design it so that you could add an air to water heat pump later and use the oil as a backup, that would be,
that'd be ideal.
Yeah, really good.
Does the library have a buried oil tank?
No, it's in our mechanical room in the basement, and it was just inspected and passed with good colors.
That's very good. Yes.
Yes. And we're hoping the environmental review will be very minimal because we're not really disturbing any dirt outside. We're staying within the footprint of the building.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
In the interest of time, I'd like to move.
Yeah, okay, let's go for
to
it.
authorize the chair to sign the draft letter in support of the Norwich Public Library's application for an HUD Public Facilities Preservation Initiative grant.
Second. Okay, let's go. There's no further discussion. We'll go right to voting. So Marcia?
Yes.
Kimo?
Yes.
Priscilla?
Oh, yes.
And I'm a yes. And we have the letter in there, so should get going pretty quick, I think.
Great. Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for waiting.
Oh, yes, no, I will see you all Monday evening.
That's right. That's right. Waiting.
You're very good about that. And I'm going to take one of Sandy's cookies. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is a spending request from the town clerk for archival storage boxes.
I move to approve the expenditure of $135.60 from the Restoration Fund number 45 for the purchase of archival storage boxes.
Second.
Okay, second by Priscilla. Any discussion? Hearing none. Marcia, how do you vote?
Yes.
Emo?
Yes.
Priscilla?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Next is the number 9, agenda number 9, DPW bid recommendation for the Moore Lane Bridge membrane paving and guardrail project. So it did have a extensive presentation in the packet. Do you have any?
Yeah, I have some questions.
Questions? Okay.
First off, astonishing disparity in bids. Which I mean, I'm not doubting Chris's judgment on this because he's worked with these people apparently. But then the bottom, it says, wants us to approve culvert work, which this isn't, and it says an amount not to exceed 150. And I'm not sure where do you get to the 150? There's something about a $35,000 something or other. I mean, how do you get to 150? If we're wanting to do it with the one that came in at under 130.
Mary, may I?
Yes, let's, go ahead, Brendan.
Okay, so the answer to that, Priscilla, if you read the memo, and I just caught that final recommendation, that culvert work, I think, was a carryover from the other, so that is incorrect. You're right in catching that. But what Chris has mentioned here is the bid came in at $128,000. We are anticipating that once this is uncovered, we may find that we can remove more emulsion. So that's really the purpose of this project, right? Is to try to get that leaking emulsion out of the bridge framework and out of the environment. So there's a chance that if we uncover that and find that there's more than $35,000 that was kind of put in there as a placeholder, we would have a change order to the contract and they would take out more of the emulsion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're building in a contingency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
It's pretty straightforward request.
Okay, Marcia, any questions?
No, I mean, my preference was always to bite the bullet and remove and replace the bridge, but it's extremely expensive, and given the prior votes of the board, I support Chris's recommendation.
Right.
I'm happy to make the motion.
Oh, no, hang on. Oh, Peter Orner, would you like to speak? You muted.
I want to go back to what Priscilla, I think, very astutely started her comments saying. The disparity is concerning, and do we have an explanation for it? My follow-up question to that is, what other work has this company done that is at all similar to this work? Do we have any sense of that? What work has this company done for the town? How long does the relationship go? But my first question is Priscilla's. Why the difference? And as Marcia said, we want to get this done, but we have now spent upwards of 200 grand on this and not solved the problem at all. We're going to add 128. Is this going to solve the problem? It says very specifically in here, greatly reduce or eliminate. Which is it? And what kind of assurances do we have from this company? But again, why the disparity, and what explanation do we have in terms of this company and their experience with this type of technical removal of carcinogens? And I also want to remind a little bit of context that when I first brought this to the board, I was told by the DPW director that this was not a problem. not unsafe, and we've now been at this 7 years. So is this, the rushing to approve this is very, very concerning to me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I don't believe we have Chris here to talk about the companies, but Brennan, would you like to
I can
comment?
try, Mary, if you'd like. So we only had 2 responsive bids, so we don't have a wide variety of, was somebody going to come in between there? Was there one lower or higher? So with 2, we have our engineering team at Stantec that helped us write the RFP and reviewed the 2 bids with our DPW director, and they both felt that Waters Excavation was a reputable and competent firm to do the work, and they were also the firm that just completed the Hemlock Road slope stabilization project for us, which I think turned out very well. So knowing that, Chris having had just immediate relations there, he is comfortable and confident that they are the right firm for the job.
Can I follow up again, Brennan? Apologies.
Yes. Yeah,
But
go ahead.
again, to go back to why the difference in the disparity, and I'm very concerned about, what seems, okay, yeah, we know these people, maybe you work with them, maybe you're even friends with them, whatever it is, but why did one company come in at $100,000 more to do this work? I think that question needs to be answered.
I'm not sure that question can be answered, but it's also, it's always better when you have a variety of bids and there's, less of a difference between them. But also, Peter, I think you also asked, like, who has experience in doing this? And this may be a fairly unique bridge. That's the other thing. I don't think there are too many I think this was actually an experiment when it was put in.
Right.
So that might be part of it. I don't have any evidence that that's the case. I'm just thinking that might be part of someone's thinking.
Yeah, if I may, Mary, I mean, we've had a number of occasions where we paid people to do work for this bridge, in some cases totally wasting the money. So that's my concern here is what other than insurance from the DPW director do we have that this company can do this work? Sorry, my kid's young.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, apparently Stantec has vetted them, so.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Well, I think I can comment that
Sure.
Having been involved in the world of bidding, and it is frequently you get a large distance between bids when one company is particularly well suited to the work because of their overhead, the size of their equipment, the type of equipment they have. They may have things that they can use in-house. The other company might have to rent that equipment in order to do the job. We don't know what the factors are, but it's not uncommon at all for a relatively small, not very attractive project to attract somewhat wider range of bids than a project that everybody wants to do. I don't think anybody really wants to do this project. It's no fun. It's not big enough to make much money on. So the disparity doesn't strike me as being something that is a red flag for me.
That's helpful.
And I think the specifications of the drawings were pretty specific and not complicated. It's not a highly technical job. It's digging stuff off, removing as much as we can, doing that with oversight and supervision. We should be able to see what they're doing, and then covering everything back up with a membrane such that water can no longer get into the place that's getting into now. That's a pretty straightforward.
So before you reply to that, Peter,
sorry, go ahead.
Peter,
yes,
for a minute.
Yes,
One of the things that gives me confidence is that we're dealing from the top, where it's been like the diaper underneath catching it, and also we're taking out the sidewalk. It seems to me that there will be fewer chances for water to enter, as you just said. So that gives me more confidence. And also it's fairly low tech. You got your membrane, your asphalt and so forth. So I'm willing to give it a try. Okay. And then Peter, we could go back to you. Go
I'm
ahead.
very confused because, and Mary and Marcia, you were on the select board when we heard, not just from Rod Francis, but also from Brennan, frankly, that there was only one way to do this. And that was the things we were doing before. And now all of a sudden it's a straightforward $128,000 job. Why didn't we do that before we spent the 200 grand? There is information we are not getting here. And I think what I hope I don't have to do is when there's a new configuration and I have to speak to Chemo and Matt and Brennan and others to say, wait a second, we've yet again wasted money on the Moore Lane Bridge. If this was such an easy job, why were we told we had one choice, which is the diaper or replacing the bridge? This was investigated prior and we were told it would not work. So therefore, I'm concerned, A, does this company have the experience and the ability to do what I was told was not possible before, but now you're all saying, oh, no, this is an easy thing. We're just taking the top off. There was a reason for that in the past, and we can go back and look at it. But the fact that the emulsion was coming from other parts of the street, down the street, up the street, etc., that this was a far bigger job than is being implied here. So I am concerned, and I'll just say it. I'm concerned that there's a connection and that you are maybe rushing to approve something. I would love to speak to the DPW director or have you all speak very specifically, say what experience do they have in this type of situation and why weren't we told before that this was possible? Because we've now spent upwards of 200,000. We could have spent 128 before. I have a lot of questions here. And I hate to have to come back later and say, wait a second, you guys told me you were going to do this. And the emulsion is still pouring in, which has now been doing for 7 years. And before
Right,
that.
thank you. Marcia?
It's my recollection that when, under this administration, what we had done was have some investigation done, and we all sat and looked at a report that had, I think, 5 or 6 options, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody weighed in on the different options, and there was a vote, and the vote went to do this kind of stuff. And so that's why we're doing it. And I think, unless you want to go back and have the board re-vote that, the board voted on that path. And I think absent taking down the whole bridge, which I'd love to do, we've got to keep moving that stuff out of there. And what we understood was it's embedded and we're trying to like get it out when it releases itself. So I don't want to sit there and let it just not take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the path that the board chose.
I understand that. I'm wondering, are you doing enough due diligence to know that this company can accomplish that task? Because we were
thank
very
you.
specifically, this was very complicated, not an easy job. It's carcinogenic. It has been infecting the water and the environment for years and years and years. Are you just going sudden? I mean, we never had bids before. Suddenly this is easy. I am very, very concerned about wasting town money here again.
All right, thank you, Peter. All right, Brennan, did you want to reply or?
I don't want to
No.
belabor this. No, we
Okay.
did bid this in the fall. We had no bids. So we bid it again this winter. We have 2 bids. We are going to do a fairly straightforward milling of the pavement and asphalt to get down to where we believe this emulsion is. We're going to try to remove as much of that as possible while that's uncovered and put a membrane in that will keep water from flowing through from the top to bottom, which is what our professional engineer has said they believe will be a solution. And I know you don't like it, Peter, but I mean, this is kind of the path that we've taken.
Scott, no, let's not bring that in, please, Brennan. Okay.
Who's the professional engineer, Brennan?
Stantec.
Okay.
Why did Stantec propose
So
having
Peter
a diaper
and
before?
Brennan, Peter and Brennan.
I'm not
Can we-
arguing with Peter. I just was trying to respond to his
You're
question.
railroading this through
Okay.
without enough appropriate examination of this. And I apologize for taking
happy to
the meeting,
move the
and I'm
motion.
not trying to be rude here. But you all are making a mistake, and I'm asking questions that should have been asked before you are doing this. This was something
Okay.
you all agreed was not easy. And that is why you spent $200,000 before.
Right, and Peter, we know your concerns. We've heard you say it about 5 times.
For
Okay,
7
we're
years,
gonna-
Mayor. For 7 years,
Well,
I have been living
I
next to a
know.
toxic
I
waste site.
know, it's frustrating.
It's not frustrating. It's you all are not. It's like you live now in an existence where it's only right now. The context here, and you were on the board, Mary, before, and you authorized this because this was not an option. I am trying to ask a simple question. Why is this now an option when it wasn't before? That makes me suspicious and very concerned, especially when I know nothing about this company and nothing about this company's ability to remove carcinogenic emulsion from the environment permanently. That is what I'm asking you to do. And I apologize. I realize that it's a long meeting, but I hope you can appreciate my frustrations, because I begged you. My wife was on this call begging you, Mary, begging you. And you know what you said? You said water dilutes the carcinogens. That was 7 years ago. Now, all of a sudden, Brennan has come to you with the DPW director, who is not here to answer Priscilla's question, and saying, okay, we got 2 bids. Let's go with the lower bid. I say, pause it, ask more questions, and vote next time. That is what I propose. Thank you. I'll shut up now.
Thank you for your comments. It's the wish of the board here.
I move to approve the Moore Lane Bridge membrane paving and guardrail project with Waters Excavation, Inc. as presented for an amount not to exceed $150,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'll just say, any prior administration telling us what was or wasn't possible isn't relevant now. We've got to this point, and I think I want to see something done. So if we end up having to take the thing out and vote to do that and replace it, we do. But at the moment, I want to make sure that we're doing something. So are you asking for a vote yet?
Any further comments? Okay, Marcia, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chemo?
Yes.
Priscilla?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right, we're gonna try this and see, hopefully it's gonna work. So. All right, we have a second, DPW bid recommendation for the Mitchell Brook Road Culvert number 9. Any comments or questions about that project?
No.
As usual, put together very well and
Very
very
nicely
clearly.
put together.
Yep.
All right, is there a motion?
I move to approve the Mitchell Brook Road Culvert number 9 replacement project with Chase Site Services, Inc. as presented for an amount not to exceed $40,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And let's vote. Marcia, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chemo?
Yes.
Priscilla?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. That one. Okay, we have a request for funds from the Citizen Assistance Fund. Oh, a 5-minute break. Okay, with everybody?
We'll do you and then speak.
We'll do it after this.
I think Jenny can't
Been waiting and waiting.
Wait, give Jenny a minute.
Yeah, we'll
Mary,
make
Mary?
small talk. Yes, I'm sorry.
Did we skip
Brennan.
number 8 for the town clerk spending request?
No, we did that.
We did that.
Yeah.
I missed that. Sorry.
Yeah,
It was fast.
It was a
we're
quick
trying to
one.
sort of
All
speed
right.
up a little bit. Yes, we were good. We fixed that one.
Poor Jenny.
I know.
I'm usually the one that has to have a break. Sorry, John. Have a cookie.
Oh,
It'll
I am
give
cookies.
you a little energy.
Try this plate.
Yes. We got the
I
same
don't know
ones.
how you people do this.
But we have our minute taker in the bathroom. That's why we're sort of pausing. Yeah.
Would you like a cookie?
They're good. I mean, Sandy Anderson made them.
She did.
So
We
have to wait till
sort of
Jenny's back for
pausing
minutes,
because our
sorry.
Jenny, who takes our minutes,
oh, okay.
is in the bathroom, so poor thing.
I'm indisposed. Jeez.
Yes, in the powder room.
The powder room. It's okay, Jenny.
Thank you.
It's like screeching, but sorry.
What's screeching?
The sink.
The plumbing is,
Oh, great.
well, that's a story for another day. Okay,
Okay.
we're up to number 11, request for funds from the Citizen Assistance Fund. John Farrell here, would you like to speak a little bit about it? Or?
Yeah, the person involved is been filling their oil tank with 5-gallon buckets of oil
Oh, no.
through the winter. It's just not right.
Need is there.
So I got involved with a person. He has 2 kids in school.
Mhm.
I got the person some food from the Haven to help them out. And since then, he's been cut off from his original supplier for heating oil because he owes them money, but he just let me know that he's made arrangements with Coda and Coda.
Mhm.
So he has an account with them. And what we're requesting is $800 to be deposited into the Coda.
As a credit, I think.
Yeah, so he can get his oil tank filled and get him through the winter.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's sad, but I think this is the way to go.
It's a
I'm
good way.
glad that people know to go to you when they, I'm glad people know to go to you when they have.
Well, that's another issue that I'm going to bring up at another select board meeting, because there's so many people that I've talked to in town that has no idea what a town service officer does.
Right.
And they have no idea that the bottle collection and the can collection goes to support.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't know that either. And a lot of my neighbors didn't know it when I talked to them. Right now, we have about $12,100
A lot of capacity in the fund.
So we're good for that.
Right.
I'd like to draw $800 out of that for.
Yeah. So we need more publicity around what is available, but for this sounds like a no-brainer.
No brainer. No. Okay. I move to authorize the.
Okay, so Marcia does have things somewhere. Okay.
I don't have a problem with this at all, obviously, but I'm really worried about the financial stress on this country. And I just worry that $12,000 isn't going to go far. So at some point, I'm wondering if you might think about asking the board to have an agenda item so that you could give the board some sort of idea about what we might be looking at, and is it maybe a necessity to start thinking about some sort of prioritization or an equitable way to make sure that the people who need help get something?
In 2025, there was only one request for help. And Brendan and I worked that out and got the person what they needed to get. It was an electric bill problem. So we solved that problem. So far in 2026, this has been the only request. But I think you're right. A lot of people don't know that this is available.
Yeah.
A lot of people are too proud to ask for help.
Yeah.
I'd like to address the select board in another meeting. And I thought that one of the things we could do is put a sign up at the bottle redemption location, letting people know that
At the transfer station. Yeah.
it's the
That's a very
redemption
good
is
idea.
going for a good cause.
Yeah.
Because too many people just think they drop off their cans, they have no idea where the money goes.
Right.
And it goes into the designated fund, the Citizens Assistance Fund. So,
It might be more careful.
yeah.
Get more bottles in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I really do think we need to start thinking about if, ask and you shall receive. If you get a lot of people understanding that this is out there.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They might drain the account because they need help. But we vet the people pretty well. I did have.
You know, there is no, I think Marcia's point is there's genuine need out there. As you say, people are not, I mean, I know of an instance where a private citizen found out about somebody in real distress. Again, it was an oil tank thing and just wrote a large check to the person. That was just somebody out of the goodness of her heart wrote a big check.
Usually when
and when I heard this, I said, do you know that we have a town service?
Usually what I do is I meet the people if they can at the library in a
nice neutral space.
Neutral space, yeah.
Yes.
And I vet them, take notes and so on. Then I report to Brennan what my findings were, and then we figure out the best way to help them. There was only one instance where I kind of felt that I got scammed a little bit, and that was someone that needed help for their rent. And that was where Herb Durfee was the town manager. And shortly after we helped her out with the rent, she was going on vacation and put a notice on the listserv that she was going to pay someone $25 a day to watch her cat.
Oh,
so that didn't quite jive. You know, I got taken on that, I think, but I'm pretty careful of vetting people and finding out what the problem is. So I hope you'll approve that and
yes.
Get that. Oh, and I wanted to ask Brennan, excuse my ignorance, but what is an AP warrant that you want?
Accounts payable is AP.
Okay, what do you want me to do to?
Well, we can talk
that?
offline, John. It's just the mechanism of getting the check paid to the vendor.
Okay, great. I'll talk to you.
Yeah, it's just the town has a process for how we need to pay an invoice, so we'll figure it out. While I have a second here, I want to commend John. He has spent a lot of time on these two projects that he just briefly described, and has really invested a lot of his time and energy into trying to help the citizens that are in need. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you. And also, John, you know, we have this request for spending. So the first step of getting it on the AP warrant is right here.
Oh, okay.
Once we vote on it.
Once we approve it.
Okay, then.
Do you want to move it?
I move. Oh, go ahead, Marcia.
I move to authorize the expenditure of up to $800 to be paid from Fund Number 33, Citizen Assistance Fund, to assist a citizen.
I'll second.
Okay. Let's get to voting. Marcia, how do you vote?
Yes.
Emo?
Yes.
Priscilla?
Yes.
And I'm yes. So we can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for
Thank you.
being patient about waiting. Have a cookie through the road, you know, a few cookies.
You might need one.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
We're getting there.
Getting there.
Okay, our next item is the informational meeting presentation review. But it was pretty strong. There's one typo in the animal control section where it should be meetings, I think, S.
What page was that?
Of
the
near the dog, the puppy. You have the middle page with the
yeah.
dog. It says I think it says meeting instead of meetings, like 8 meeting.
Yeah, it's slide 12. I already fixed it.
Oh, okay, you fixed it. That's great.
Can I?
Yeah, sure.
On the first page of it, current staff town departments for the police. Is Officer Spencer Fouché still a part-time officer? I thought he moved on to a full-time job somewhere.
So that's Brennan. Is that accurate for the
He
police department?
is still working for Norwich as a part-time officer.
Oh, he is. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I didn't know. Okay. And on page 2, current elected officials and staff at Tracy Hall. Under treasurer, it says 2 assistant treasurers and then it gives 3 names. So, I don't know.
No, it's just good. This is why we're reviewing it, to have it.
I mean, it's 2 assistant treasurers, Marie Lise Young, Pam Smith, Lily Tryman. Are they all? Oh, I don't know.
Well,
No,
let's
it should
wait
be
and
3. There was 2 last
it
year.
is.
That just didn't get
Oh,
updated.
okay.
Change the number.
Okay, it is
So
3.
that's a good
Okay.
catch, you know, looking for inconsistencies. Marcia, do you have
Yeah.
feedback here?
I do.
Okay.
The first thing I'm struck with immediately is the fact that the word vacant doesn't appear anywhere on staffing. And for the record, I think we have to credit Brennan and his skills as a town manager for that, because he built back our town staff. And there's the proof.
Except for the police, there's one police position, but mostly it's a very strong,
Yeah.
built-up team, yes.
On page 17, I think there's a picture of the old wall, north wall, and it says north wall new, both pictures. So I think the one on the left should say north wall old.
Oh, yeah. It's
You're
repeated.
correct. Yep.
It's good to have the proofreading eyes
Well,
on this.
that's why we're reviewing the draft.
That's why we're doing it. That's why we're doing it.
I was interested because I remember that room.
Yeah, it looks better now, as you can see.
And did you have other
No
corrections?
I didn't either.
I thought on the fiscal year 2027 budget goals and challenges, I would, where the select board goal was to generate the budget not to exceed 6% increase, but the total increase, which is way down in tiny print, is 2.96. I just thought you should make that larger to show how it came in. It's on page 13 of the packet, page 2 of the presentation.
It's on page 6,
Page
isn't it?
6 of the slide deck. Fiscal year 2027 budget goals and challenges on outcome. It's mentioning the 2.96% increase when our goal was not to exceed 6. I just thought that the physical size of that to me should be larger, just so people don't miss it.
I know it's a formatting thing, but boy, I think she's right that should be bigger. And
I could make it red.
yeah,
You could
Make it bigger.
You could switch it around, somehow.
probably red isn't a good idea for budgeting.
No, we don't want to be in the red.
Especially in the financial
Make
section.
it bold.
If
All
you
right,
could
so-
bold it or something.
So the consensus is to highlight that although the goal was 6%, we actually, if all of the monetary articles are approved, are going to be at the 2.96.
Yes.
Okay.
You could even make it the same font size as the select board goal.
That's true. That would be nice.
Okay, I'll work on that.
I think it looks pretty impressive.
If everyone is happy with that, I'll make those edits. I'll let it sit for a day. I'll look it over again and see if I catch any other little nits. And if not, that will be what we'll present on Monday night.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Is that dog off leash?
I requested a dog picture, actually. I think it's adorable.
Shall I move to approve this?
Sure.
I move to approve the informational meeting presentation as presented with suggested amendments.
Well, there were a couple of amendments, like three assistant treasurers.
So do I need to specify? I've said with
No.
suggested amendments.
As
amended.
As amended.
As with suggested amendments.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Let's vote on this. Marcia?
Yes.
Chemo?
Yes.
Scylla?
Yep.
Yes. All right, go through that one. We have the town manager report.
Okay.
You want to speak to this?
As you're aware, we have finished the audit for the year, and we have a few months before we begin the next cycle of audits. So a little reprieve there. The town report is out, as you have probably seen. If you walked in, we have hard copies of those on the wooden table there outside the finance office. and we have those also available for pickup at the library. And we are going to have obviously a couple boxes to hand out for folks that come to the informational meeting. So you can always pick one of those up. And Barry has obviously completed the transfer of all of the financials into the report. And last Friday, we had the deadline for the tax collection. I'm sorry, 2 Fridays ago. It might actually been, yeah, it was Friday. Sorry. I'm getting mixed up on my weeks here. So that has been wrapped to the point where we are now, we've got our final tally of who is paid on time. And we always have to wait a couple extra days or a week or so for postmarks to be checked and, receiving all of the stuff that was mailed. But that is pretty well wrapped up right now, and the delinquent tax warrant was just sent to the treasurer today for compiling. So that's been going on in the finance office. Stephen wanted me to mention he is working on kind of what he's calling a pre-preliminary work for updating FEMA and USGS floodplain maps for the town. And as he explained it, there's going to be a long process for that kind of a federal steps to be taken, but he's working on that. We were awarded the Department of Housing and Community Development Planning Grant for the municipal planning grant for the village master plan. So I'm not sure if that got mentioned already or not, but that was, we had applied for that and we did get the notification that Norwich was awarded. So that's good news. And then the other thing that Stephen just wanted me to make the board aware of was the Planning Commission has been working on the short-term rental interim bylaw adoption. As part of that process, they will need to come back to the select board and have a public hearing, like kind of the official public hearing, so that those bylaws can be adopted. So that's something for a future meeting, probably in the next month or so. On the DPW side, as we talked about already tonight, the bid recommendations came in for the Moore Lane Bridge and for the Mitchell Brook Culvert. For the rec department, Bree wanted just to mention that the youth basketball season is, I think, now over as of this week, and mud season sports are beginning in a couple days. And the registration for her spring sports programs and summer camps is underway. Town clerk, Lily, obviously, as you're aware, is got an election coming up here in a couple days. And so that office is busy planning for that. And we'll be getting that set up right after the informational meeting for the vote on Tuesday. And then out of my office, I already mentioned the town reports. Miranda has once again put together a lot of work that goes into compiling all that, and those turned out pretty well again this year. I mentioned continuing to work with the EABMS that we talked about earlier in the meeting. And I will just add, I have been dealing with, it seems like, an extraordinary amount of Public Record Act requests here over the last month or so, which is taking a lot of time, a lot of effort that goes into responding to those, something that we are obligated by law to do. So it's not a discretionary thing, but just wanted folks to be aware that that is taking up a lot of time on my part to comply with those. And our legal team has been helping me with that and is doing a nice job, I think. And then I didn't put this in on Friday when this was submitted, but I did have a discussion yesterday with Doug Sensala at Studio Nexus, and I let him know there was certainly a lot of interest on the board to get this back into public discussion. He offered that he could be available for the second meeting in March on the 25th and would like to come back in and with the new board in place, just get a little more direction on what we would like Studio Nexus to help us with. So if people are agreeable to that, I told them to pencil it in. I'd let people know that was a plan and we could go from there. I assume there'll be no objections to doing that. So I guess that's all I have, unless there are any questions about any of that.
Any questions?
No questions. No.
Okay. And department reports, any questions on those? That's next.
Not for me. No.
All right.
I'll seem fine.
So it kind of disappeared, but I guess we're still a quorum here. Shall we wait for her or before we talk about the minutes? Wait a couple minutes.
I'm just wondering, do we need to know anything about the public records requests? Where are they coming from?
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
I could give you that information. I think if you're interested.
Tonight?
Yes. Yeah, I was kind of waiting for affirmation. So we have two separate requests going on right now from Chris Katuki. We have one from Pam Smith. We had two that I think have been closed at this point. One was kind of an out-of-state dragnet looking for zoning permits, and we had another one from our service officer looking for some information about property tax payments. And I think that's it. I might be missing one.
The Pam Smith one.
I mentioned
Yes,
that.
you mentioned it. This one, yeah.
One?
I mean, one request.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we got. And yeah, we're spending a lot of money on those. So I'll say.
That's one reason why we need to have a budget for legal services.
Yep.
Should we all take a couple minute break?
Sure.
Let's do that. So come back at like, oh, here she is. Here, hustle on over here. We're gonna get through this. We were thinking what?
You guys don't seem to need a break.
Okay.
Where are we?
Oh, we're good. Brennan
Approving
made,
minutes.
yeah, approving minutes number 15.
Okay, I'm happy with the minutes. Excellent job, Jenny.
Okay, any other? We ready to move the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes for February 11, 2026 as presented.
We are eager, aren't we? All right, let's go. Marcia.
Yes.
Kimo.
Yes.
Priscilla.
Oh, yes.
I'm a yes, okay. The AP warrants, does someone want to move that?
I move to approve AP warrant number 1458 in the amount of $100.05 to be paid from the general fund, and AP warrant number 1459 in the amount of $7,584,519.02 to be paid from the general fund.
For second?
Second.
Okay, the large amount is because of the school district. Right. All right, you ready to vote?
Yeah.
Marcia?
Yes.
Kimo?
Yes.
Priscilla? Yep. Yes. Okay, now we're down to receipt of correspondence. There's a lot. There are like 11 items. So I'll just mention what they are. Alex Hone to Kelsey Zengel, letter of resignation as the town forest fire warden. I think Alex is moving. So there's some related documents, the signed registration, resignation form, a blank personnel record, and an appointment form. Second was from Priscilla.
No, it wasn't actually. Look, it was from John Vincent. No relation.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just misread that. The second piece of correspondence?
It's from John Vincent. He was commenting on a post
Okay.
time.
Oh, that's my bad. All right. You want to expressing outrage?
Yes, he was specifically asking who made the decisions about not withdrawing a piece of correspondence. That's what his is about.
Okay, John Vincent over on Blood Hill Road, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Marsha Price is representing the nonprofit Homes for Norwich. They did an analysis of the future land use maps and Tier 1B status issues, and they included a cover letter with their analysis.
I thought they did a really nice job.
Yeah. Stephen Hepburn, the chair of the Norwich Finance Committee, submitted the Norwich, Vermont comparable towns report that we had asked for.
Yeah, and I thought they did a really great job.
I did too. Number 4 was the concerned citizens. Most of them, I think, showed up tonight. There were 9 residents signed a letter of concern about speeding on Beaver River Road. Let's see. 5 was the just the document showing the different parcels that make up the fire district that yeah, the exemptions. 6 is Priscilla Vincent. Parting thoughts. Control of the parking lot, fewer executive sessions or stewardship of money in relations with listers. 7 was Chemo Briggs, letter of appreciation for the service of Marcia Calloway and Priscilla Vincent. Marcia Calloway, the select board handbook, noting additions that need to be put in. The LHMP, the Emergency Management Steering Committee, and also the Energy Plan Working Group need to be tipped in there. Priscilla Vincent, this time, apology to Pam Smith regarding the Wilson.
You had there were some other notes, meeting notes summarized that were included.
Okay.
Communication between you and Will.
Yes. Yeah, it was what was communicated to me from Will and also from Priscilla that I read into the record, but it was just to provide the physical copies of those. Number 10 from Chemo Briggs, responding to the select board meeting, that agenda item. Let's see, want distance from response from town manager and other members of select board. Use of a public meeting to shame a citizen of our town is objectionable. Okay, and 11 was a copy of the select board procedure for receipt of resident correspondence. I think that's all.
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
The agenda item correspondence includes a descriptor discussion, and this is because when I first came on the board, there was much criticism that correspondence was just ignored and there was a consent agenda. So we officially approved a change of practice to not just accept correspondence, but to discuss it and give some form of feedback. So I'm appropriately, again, engaging in board discussion of some correspondence, particularly that from Chemo and Priscilla. I've made a point of never responding to inflammatory remarks about me during my tenure on the board. However, I have consistently stood up for our town staff and the actions of this board, whether I was on the majority vote or not. Indeed, I would have expected Priscilla to defend the board's actions, especially as she voted with the majority in every case that was being attacked. I can only hope that the new board will familiarize themselves with the laws which apply to the work we're supposed to do. And if they don't, we'll be back where we were 5 years ago. Staff leaving and distressed townspeople crowding into select board meetings. Read the law, listen to the various viewpoints, and make up your own mind about what is in the best interests of Norwich as a whole, not just to benefit or explain away the actions of specific individuals or offices.
What a lovely note to end on.
Thank you.
Well, I think that was a very tough agenda item during that meeting. And sometimes we forget that we're all neighbors.
We have another item, a set organizational meeting. Oh, we kind of done.
We have another item on our agenda.
Correspondence.
Oh, yeah, first.
Second.
Oh, my God.
I
you guys
move
are
to
galloping.
receive correspondence.
Oh, Kimo seconded.
Okay, so Callaway, Griggs, let's vote on it. I think we're ready to do that. Marcia,
Yes.
Emo,
Yes.
Priscilla? I'm a yes. Okay, number 18 is to set the organizational meeting. So we need to set the date, and I want to talk about the inclusion of a little packet for that. So Brian is dead. So our voting day is March 4th. Is that true? The actual voting day? I'm gonna look at my calendar.
No, no, it's
My brain is from.
March 3rd is Tuesday.
That's Tuesday. Okay, so your organizational meeting is March 4th. Yes.
And shall we just keep it at 6:30 to be consistent with other meetings?
Sure.
Okay. I also just wanted to have a packet included for the information of especially the new members coming on, members coming on, that would have sort of the nuts and bolts. So the rules of conduct, the current ones that we had passed, the receipt of correspondence, the choosing the media person. Oh, there's another one. And also, just to see, I want to just ask you guys if we should, or whoever is on the board would want to vote at that meeting about whether or not the chair's report should be continued for the year, whether that has utility. I sort of think it does.
I mean, I'm not going to be part of that board, but I think the chair's report does have a lot.
Okay, just so that people kind of know some of the factors that go into developing the agenda and so forth.
Yeah.
But we have to vote it in, or it could be part of our, our sort of code of conduct or rules of procedure. It could be that, and then it's just sort of there, or it could be a separate thing. It's become a practice. I just assume do it that way.
I think it's sometimes it's useless and sometimes it's helpful.
Sometimes it's helpful, but
I think the important thing is that Dylan's law is the thing that we think about, and so having it voted is important.
I think that part is important.
As we do.
Necessary, actually.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think your idea about putting it into one of our boilerplate template things that we use is fine.
Could be under consideration at
Yeah.
least.
I also think that last year there was a lot of discussion about one of the documents that had law in it, and the law had changed. And anyway,
did we update it?
No,
do you remember?
Didn't come back. So it stood out there. I remember Kimo saying he was sorry that he made a motion and we didn't get back to it. And so I said, you have the option to do something, but it didn't happen. So I think.
Okay, now that's very murky. So to me.
Okay.
So when we're considering our, what do we call it? Rules of procedure?
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a change to the law that would affect that document?
Yeah, I put in a memo at the time, and I just think you should revisit that.
Do you mind sending that somewhere?
I don't mind.
Maybe for correspondence?
Sure.
Okay, and the other missing piece is that we usually vote to have the chair and the vice chair have the authority to sign off-cycle warrants. That's the other sort of nuts.
You also vote on it.
That's what I'm saying.
Chair.
That's
No,
what.
but when you vote on.
We have the slate of officers too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, once that's sorted out, there's these other sort of nuts and bolts kind of things. Just that, if you've been on for a while, you're kind of used to it. But Brendan Klassen, has never seen any of that. Both Pam and Rob Gear would have seen it.
Right.
At least. So just as a courtesy, and also to the public. So, all right, but
Is there a limit on the authorization to sign off
for what?
For the warrants?
We have
that's-
one sort of for the town manager, anything under, I think it's $10,000 to be up to 15.
Are you talking about procurement?
Off-cycle warrants.
Well,
For signing.
an off-cycle warrant is just when the calendar, well, sometimes it's one, like we had that question about the funds that matched up. Remember, we didn't want to decide. So that one I signed
I'm
off.
just wondering if there's a limit, a dollar limit to.
What you can sign?
Yeah.
Not usually, but it's, it's usually a typical, payroll is one. Sometimes that's always something that the chair or vice chair does. Like that comes up regularly. And then sometimes, and other things they come up, but you can't not pay them. They just come up at odd times. Schedule. So that's a pretty pro forma thing, but okay. Well, we've got, go ahead.
Suggestion. When we were talking about committee assignments and things, and there was the committee review document, remember? And that was pre-existing, and the board decided to get rid of that document. So there'd be no review of committees going forward.
Oh.
And so I think that was kind of left hanging, and I think it would be a good thing if the board assigned board members to sort of be just paying attention to particular committees, so that they can bring back information, because there's really no way that you necessarily are hearing what a board does, because I don't think everybody
Beyond the minutes.
beyond the minutes, right?
So sort of a board check-in committees.
Or even just being sure that somebody's reading the minutes of each committee.
Oh, that's a good idea. Well, we could consider that too, maybe. And that could either be then or, a little bit later if we're not sure on that one.
I used to read all the minutes of all the committees that were posted on the listserv as a matter of course.
Right.
I just did that. And then I went to some meetings.
Mm-hmm.
But I just did that of my own volition.
Yes.
Do we assign any responsibility to attend school board meetings? Do we have any liaison?
Used to.
We used to have that.
I go to them now, but.
Well, we could, you could be appointed especially if you're going anyway. I think that was a matter of time. Other issue of the organizational meeting, we've had feedback from one of our citizens about who runs the meeting, because when it first is opened up, it can't be any of us.
Right, there's no chair.
Right, and Brennan has run it. I don't see any problem with Brennan running it, but if people feel strongly, we could recruit someone based on feedback.
I don't think it's necessary at all.
So I'm fine with
I
that.
won't be here, so people don't have to worry about me.
I won't be here either. Woo!
I see some people dancing in the streets. Okay, well, I think we've probably talked enough about this item. We have a motion.
We warn the date and time of the organizational meeting as March 4th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Vote, Marcia, how do you vote?
Yes.
Emo?
Yes.
Priscilla?
Yep.
Yes. And someone like to move to adjourn?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay.
Yeah.
You missed your chance.
Marcia, how do you vote?
Yes, I care.
Emo?
Yes.
Priscilla?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm yes, and it is 10.
Almost 10.
So maybe you go to 11. 10 is late enough though.
The recording has stopped.